Welcome to the May 8th meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. If you please stand, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sean's not going to be here until a little later.
Oh, okay.
He's got to...
Janet, you wanted to speak?
Yes. Hi, I'm Janet Brown, Chairman of the Cemetery Trustees. We are in the process of finishing the fence at East Weare Cemetery. We have already replaced 300 feet along the Buzzell Hill Road last year. We asked Holmesy to come back and replace the side of the fence on the long East Street and the back fence so that we could have it done for Memorial Day. He was able to get the fence down and take it to the town dump, as we did 3 other fences, Sugar Hill fence and the 300 feet of East Weare. He was charged $384 to dump the fence, which is pressure treated in his town property. We did not expect to pay. If the dump policy had been changed, we should have been told, and we want him to get his money reimbursed if possible, rather than take it out of our funds for all the donations and things we've asked other people to do for us over the years. I think it's only fair that we have the right to dump that at the dump unless the policy's changed.
I agree with you. Anybody?
It came off of town property, I don't...
Yes.
Yeah,
we
wouldn't be
shouldn't have been
covered.
charged for it.
Right.
How much was it?
$384, I believe.
And has he already paid it?
He had to pay that day.
Okay, I move that we reimburse the payment of $384 for town property that was dumped at the dump.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just... The only thing I had asked, Jen and I had a conversation just before I left, is that if I had known he was going to take it to the dump, I would have told Matt differently, but I didn't know until after. Because Matt, I mean, anybody can come in and say, I'm working on town property. So that's why he did what he did. And that's why, I mean, you have to refund it to him. But had we had a heads up, Matt would have known, and then he wouldn't have been charged and wouldn't have gone through this exercise.
Just an oversight.
Yeah, no,
I
it
wasn't
was.
aware when he was going to start so soon
Right.
either, so I would have certainly called.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, gravel discussion, Ernie Tebow?
My name is Ernie Tebow from Tebow Corporation of New England, and I'm here basically, I had a discussion a few weeks ago with Chip Meany about an ongoing issue with a gravel pit that I own. We own 415 acres on 254 Clough Road in Weare. It consists of 2 parcels, roughly one 215 acres, another one 205. And it's had gravel removal for many years on both the, it's lot 107 and lot 104. The one I'm talking about is actually lot 107. The piece was purchased from the Chelsea Corporation or Wakefield Sand and Gravel by Tebow Corporation. And it's been basically, we had our permit transferred by the town of Weare in 2006. We ran the pit from 2007, 2008, and I believe in 2008 the town had changed the gravel regulations and asked all the pits to come in and adhere to the new regulations. And sometime around then, Mr. Iacozzi works for me, and he had a little bout with cancer, and obviously the economy was pretty poor, and we didn't do much to actually renew the permit. During that period, I had some discussions with Naomi Bolton about renewing the permit and where we stood with the permit. We had continued to file intents to excavate, which was signed, which I realized that there's a bone of contention there whether that is still an ongoing operation. It removed really small amounts of material from there because we own a lot of other pits in the area. Sometime around 2012, we came in and the economy was getting better. We came in to talk about renewing the permit or at least applying for a new permit. And I don't want to bore you with details. I could go on for hours about this because it's been something that's been going on with Naomi, myself, and my company. But at the same time, there had been an old lawsuit on an old piece of property between the town of Weare and Tebow Corporation. It had been inactive for, 6 or 7 years. During that time, I believe Naomi had stated that the lawsuit needed to be withdrawn, or at least an implication that they should be withdrawn if we wanted to go ahead with renewing the old permit.
But that's on 104, you're not talking about 104, right?
Right, but that's what I'm talking, there was confusion though. The lawsuit was on the old property.
Okay,
But if you read Mr. Drescher's, and I'm getting to that.
okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
So there was an old lawsuit on a previous piece of property, and it was abutting this piece. My attorney got together with Bill Drescher, and in 2012, they dropped the lawsuit. Shortly after that, we came in to apply for a permit. We were then told by town council that we would need a special exception to continue on. And again, there's a lot of things going back and forth, letters, and I have a whole package if you'd like to see it. But basically, we met on September 28th of 2016 here in at the town hall. Bill Drescher was there, my attorney Emo Busia was here, Naomi and Chip Meany. And the basic crux of the conversation was that if in fact, and again, Naomi can chime in if she disagrees, but the crux of the conversation was that if the permit pre-existed, if a site plan and a permit pre-existed the 1987-88 zoning that was enacted, then the use was vested, but you still needed a permit. So shortly after that time, we supplied Mr. Drescher with a site plan. There was no actual permit that we could find. And in discussing this with Naomi, they said the town had no records of any of the ongoing Shelsey, even back to the Tebow days of the pit. So we then waited almost 5 months for Mr. Drescher to even respond to us. He wouldn't take phone calls from my attorney, I guess they were friendly, but I don't know why he wouldn't take the calls. So finally I called incessantly, and he finally answered my phone call. And he apologized profusely for not answering us, so on and so forth. But shortly after, I got a letter stating that we did need a special exception. And again, I have a whole package for you, but I can get to the issues in the letter.
Is that the letter that I sent you?
Yes.
I sent it to them.
Yeah.
The board has that letter.
Okay. All right. But I just wanted to take a couple highlights out of the letter. First, on paragraph 23, it says, the town administrator conducted an investigation of town records, and she wrote the following, basically, that she had no information indicating existing or permit as of the date of this property. Then if you continue on to 28 and 29, it's kind of, and I'm going too quickly, let me know, but if you go to 28 and 29, it's kind of contradictory. It says, according to the town administrator, there is no indication that this particular plan or any other depicting this operation was submitted to the town at any time prior to the passage of zoning. Then he goes, but it is clear at times in the past, certainly during the 85 or 87 period, and I'm ad-libbing before zoning, the property was actively mined for earth material removals. So I guess what he's saying is that some acknowledgement that there was activity before that, but they have no records of it. So what we did is we made an appointment with New Hampshire DES, and we went through their files, and we found the 1985 permit that was signed by the town of Weare, Harold Hall being one of the members, and a recorded site plan that was recorded with the town of Weare. So rather than spend another 5 months with Bill Drescher, I called Chip Meany and I said, Chip, it was pretty clear from that meeting, if we had existence that was an ongoing operation before zoning, that again, I want to say this clearly, the use is vested, but we still need a permit. And this is all about whether or not we need to go in front of the ZBA or not. And it's clear from and again, I have packages for you the whole chronology of this, along with the permit that was filed in 1985, and it was transferred in 2006 to Tebow, and it does have a current site-specific on the property also. So we're here to just ask you if, you understand what we're asking for, and if we can clarify this, or if we need to go back in front of another attorney, or we have to wait for Mr. Drescher.
Well, we would have to have time to study.
I understand, and I'm not asking, I guess my biggest thing is I want you to understand what I'm saying, and I guess, if in fact it was there, it was permitted and a site plan was approved before zoning, then the use is vested, but we would still need to come back for a permit, and that's what I thought our meeting with Bill Drescher was about. What he said was the plan that we gave him was actually the site-specific plan, not the actual plan that went to the town or the permit. And in the package that I have, you'll clearly see that the 1985 permit is signed by the town of Weare to Rocco Shelsey, vesting the use of the property. But obviously, we've said from day one, we need to come back and get a permit for it, but the use should be vested.
Did Attorney Drescher have that document that you just referred to?
I think he just got it from
He
Chip,
got it, but
because
he-
you scanned it, right? You scanned it to Chip, and Chip sent it to...
Chip, about 2 weeks ago, Chip supposedly sent it to Mr. Drescher, but there's been no response.
Okay.
Which, again, we were 5 months to get that
Is that the
letter
one that
from him.
has this thing in it?
Yeah. And Vinnie has the full,
Yeah.
packages for everyone, it
There's
has the full
15
plan.
pages to each?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah.
It's got all the old permits all the way back, okay, and the correspondence.
Yeah, the only thing I will just toss out is this thing that was sent with 15 pages I did look at today, talks about 7 acres over a 2-year period. And what's highlighted here coincidentally matches that little piece on the tax map, not 400 acres.
No, I didn't
It's
say it was 400
70.
acres. It's the total plan that was submitted.
But the permit that was signed was for 7 acres,
Mhm.
which is highlighted right here according to this location,
Mhm.
which on our current tax map still shows here. And I'm saying that you're using the 85 for a 7-acre gravel permit. This is my first take, I'm just...
Okay,
So this here matches your diagram here for 7 acres.
yeah. But there's also a plan here that was submitted for the whole 29
Okay,
acres.
and like I said, I only looked
Okay.
at this today.
This, you already have this, this is the one that Brent did, is the existing one.
Mm-hmm.
This shows all the phases, starting with the 7 acres that was down here and working their way up.
And
But
that's
the permit here that I
Right, but the
saw
site
was...
plan was accepted. That's,
That's the thing.
the site plan that Continental Plaster did years ago was part of that whole 29 acres.
And that was a condition of the zoning regulations, as we read them, was there had to be a plan filed for the entire operation.
Mhm.
And it's been consistent, it's never changed, the use never changed. And so we meet the requirements for pre-existing pit prior to the zoning of 1988. And as far as the regular pit permit process, we fully agree that we have to go through that.
And one of the other hurdles I believe we talked about was in 2008, when we had everybody come in, and some of them are here tonight, there was acknowledgement made that you had to file for a permit
Mhm.
in '08. So there is acknowledgement there, but there's also, without a permit, whether it's Weare zoning or if it's 155E, after 2 years, I don't want to throw the abandoned word around, but that's kind of, I think, where some of it went.
I don't
So-
yeah, and that may be part of it, but I'm not saying we don't need a permit still.
Mhm.
I'm saying that the use is vested. And that's what I thought when we had the meeting with Bill Drescher, was that if we had a permit and/or a site plan that was
Right.
accepted by the town, that would vest the use, but
Okay.
you'd still need a permit.
Okay.
That's, and again, I understand you have to send it back to an attorney, but I
Yeah.
would hope that if it's Bill Drescher again, that we could get some kind of a response, or at least a dialogue back and forth.
And I guess I just take that the way of overcoming the use was to be grandfathered.
No, I never said that.
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying that's
no.
how I took that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And in order to be grandfathered, it's a different thing of what you talked
I'm
about.
well aware of that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, And I'm not saying we are grandfathered, I'm just saying the use is vested.
Yep.
The only thing we have in hand before tonight is a letter from Weare.
Sure, I understand.
And so all we can do tonight is listen
Okay.
and take your material and go through it. We might have to go back to Drescher to get a follow-up opinion. I was just looking at the calendar for May. I don't see a ZBA.
No, it's the first Tuesday, so this is after the first Tuesday, yeah.
It wasn't even listed as the first
Right.
Tuesday. So we would like to review all of this so that if you do have to go to ZBA, you won't have to wait an additional month. It would be the first Tuesday
Yeah.
in,
Right.
first Tuesday in
Yeah.
June.
Okay. But all I would ask is that, if it is Bill Drescher that's gonna look at it again, that we could have, some type of,
Movement,
well, at least a courteous response.
sure,
That's all.
Courteous and prompt.
right,
Well,
Mostly
I
prompt.
mean,
yeah.
no, I just,
I get it.
again,
Yeah.
everybody's busy, but 5 months to get that was, or 5 months plus, and then, of course, the never returning another attorney's phone call for all that time either. That was pretty egregious, I think, but hopefully, is that the only attorney the town uses
Because the only
now?
issue you have is your use. You know you have to get a permit, it's a use.
Oh, yeah, and I thought I'd try to make that clear in the
Yep.
meeting with Bill, just the
It
permit.
might not have been that.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
And you already have the applications?
Yes.
And all the abutters and everything was all
Yep.
done for last August?
Any other board members have questions?
Just that your initial plan, or the initial plan from 85 covered all the phases, is that?
that's correct.
Okay, that's, all right.
Yeah, the initial permit might have been for 7 acres, but it was a phasing plan that a Continental
Yeah, because I think
did.
it was only
Right.
signed for 7 acres over a 2-year period.
Right, but
Yep.
yep.
But the original plan covered all the 7 phases. was
Yes,
it was.
there was a plan, that the plan had the 29 acres, and that's the same plan we're using today. If we had scheduled a meeting to come in months ago, and we were on the docket, and then it got stopped because of the discussion with Drescher that he felt it needed a special exception.
Okay.
So that's the same plan we would be coming in with today, just updated with some of the,
How much of an area are you looking to excavate?
It's a total of 29 acres, and there's probably been 4 or 5 acres, and all we've been doing with the property, it's a big piece of property, is if you go out there's just organic farming being done by Devrient Farms in Goffstown,
Yeah.
and the gentleman in New Boston that's doing I own those cornfields in New
Is
Boston,
that out
same
behind,
thing.
is that out behind the barn?
I think you have
Right,
one
that
more, or
pit
we have
out
one
by your
more.
brother's house?
Yeah, you take that road out
Why don't we
there,
just put it in
and
front
there's a
of them
field
now?
on the
See
right,
how
they're doing
that-
pumpkins and whatever, and then they're trying, then we reclaim some of the other one, and he's gonna be planting that, so that's about all we're doing with
Okay,
it.
okay,
Okay.
good.
Okay,
Good for tonight?
well, thank you very much, appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Ernie.
Okay.
Sean has arrived if you want to.
Okay, we're gonna go back to department heads, chief.
So, with the vote this past month, what's that?
Trade you.
2 months ago now, unbelievably, we are coming up to the point where we are about to get or take delivery of the cars and to do the second piece, which is of course getting your authorization to the update.
Our numbers are a few dollars off.
So, the memo I just gave you is a summary of what's an apples-to-apples comparison between 4 bidders, if you will. Bidders is my choice of word, frankly, that we sought to have upfit these 3 new cars. Now, you'll see there that there's, despite the fact that they're using virtually every piece of equipment is the same, there is quite a disparate price range. For instance, Adamson Industries out of Haverhill, Massachusetts, the cost would be almost $51,000, but doesn't include graphics put on the car. Similarly, Two-Way Communications in Newington, New Hampshire, $47,000 without graphics on the car. MHQ in Marlboro is $15,110 per car, including radio and graphics, for a total of $45,330. And then Ossipee Mountain Electronics in Moultonboro, New Hampshire, is $15,386, including radio and graphics, for a total of $46,159. Frankly, it's my recommendation that we go, though it's not quite $1,000 more, but it's my recommendation that we go with Ossipee Mountain Electronics. They're a New Hampshire company, and frankly, I'd rather spend New Hampshire money in New Hampshire. They also have a vested interest in making sure that New Hampshire cars stay on the road.
And just what I gave you was, Sean, sorry, cruiser upfit. I had a little different dollar than you did, but apples to apples, where we can talk about the same. I just want to walk you through the funds per the town meeting was 107, 184. The cruises are, they're probably due in soon, aren't they? By the end of the month, maybe? Anyway, we ordered them.
I hope in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, but so we already approved that through the Hillsborough, and that's 75,480, leaving a balance of 31,704. And then, as you can see, there was some capital reserve funds, 36203, 196625, 5190. So at the time, unfortunately, his quotes at CIP didn't include all of this, and has changed since we did CIP. So he's going to have to take 698533 out of the budget. Purchase 3 complete.
Is there anything specific that makes up that difference, or just overall?
The 6985 difference.
Yes.
We're gonna have to work with it.
Is there any particular
Yep.
items that you had to add that?
Oh, no.
Okay.
That's
It's
just
a difference.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
dollar difference. Okay.
sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Now these are coming with new two-way radios?
Yes,
Has our vendor been contacted for that?
yes.
He was really
It
high.
was significantly higher than the quotes that you're looking
Is
for.
he gonna adopt them under our maintenance policy?
That's a good question. They're a radio system that's supported by their company. It's not like it's an unusual radio system.
No, it's not, but if they're gonna wash their hands of it, I don't like that. I mean, I'd like to extend at least to say, hey, I know that you couldn't match our price, but it's something you guys are gonna adopt if we get it in. Because, I mean,
I'll ask the question.
the radio, the contract we have encompasses all the radios as they replace if they need it. And I'd really hate to step on their toes if that's something that might hurt,
What was the
hurt them.
difference? What was the difference in the price with R&R and these here, chief?
First of all, R&R would do nothing but the radios.
Right.
So we were going to have to go with one of these 4 for everything else anyway.
Mhm.
And the dollar amount for the radios was, if I remember, a couple of $1,000s more.
Now that I have it, it's way down that line.
I mean, I'm not opposed to, like I said, saving $1, but if they're our vendor and they're not gonna support it,
What's the warranty on them from, say, Ossipee? Are they gonna warranty the product that they put install on the vehicle?
so even maintenance down the road. That's a pretty big chunk of the pie.
Yeah, I agree with what Rick is saying in that, we've been trying to coordinate the equipment with the fire department and highway, and all under one vendor as far as servicing it, so we just have to make sure that if we purchase somewhere else, that it will be included under that umbrella.
Okay.
I'm sure that they're capable of servicing whatever we get. They're Motorola dealer, but I just want to make sure, that's all.
Maybe we could do a tentative, based on,
Yeah.
so that, what's the timeline on this? The cars are coming in when?
Couple weeks.
Yeah, hopefully within the next 2 weeks.
And how much advance notice does the company that outfits them, if we go with the Ossipee, for example, do you know?
They would have preferred March. but I guess the reason being is that, like every other business, it doesn't make good financial sense for them to have the stuff sitting on the shelf in the hope that Sean Kelly's going to give them a call and say, yeah, you got the job. So they have to order up.
I'm sure all of the cruises approved in the state of New Hampshire were approved in March as well.
Yeah,
So they have
right about the same
business
time.
relatively at the same time. Anybody else any questions or suggestions on how we go with this?
I agree with you that, MHQ and Marlboro does, I know they do all the Mass cruises. But the thing is, you're looking to go to Marlboro, Mass, and it's out of the state. And that's a logistical thing that you've got to transfer them back and forth. You're gonna take an officer, pay him to go down there and come back. Or send 2 officers, actually, because you're gonna have to somebody to bring them back.
Then that warranty work's gonna be done.
And if they do
Stack
want,
up.
they're gonna have to wait for them. And
It's
I
gonna
think
stack up.
that, for the difference in time and logistics, I think, and I know Ossipee does quality work.
Yep.
They've been around a long, long time, so. I would say out of this, yeah, that'd be the one in favor going to Ossipee for just in the savings and manpower hours.
Yep.
So just to sort out where this
That's why I
one,
think it was too.
Naomi, just to sort out the sheet that you gave us as far as
Yep.
where this is coming from. What we're doing is we're using up the amount that was approved in the warrant article.
Right.
And then we're going to the capital reserve funds for communication,
Correct.
using that, and then we need to take an additional $69.85 out of the operating budget.
Correct.
Okay. Is everybody clear on that? Would somebody like to try to put that into a motion?
I'll make a motion that we, for the cruiser upfit, that we take the capital reserve money for the cruisers funds for $362.03. Police communications money of $1,966.25. And fire communications funds of $5,190.00. Make up out of the cost of the upfitting for the cruisers, and then chief will have to find the money out of his operating budget of $6,985.33 for the difference.
And that goes toward.
And that goes towards the $31,704.00, the difference in for upfitting the 3 new cruisers.
We gotta fit Ossipee Mountain Electronics in there somewhere.
Can I help you out?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll write it
Um,
anyway, but
And that to go towards the vendors, Ossipee Mountain Electronics in Moltenboro, New Hampshire.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion. The earmark for police and the fire communications line, how does that work?
that was part of the,
Ask the money.
well, that was part of the CIP when we were gonna do something with Bo,
Oh,
and that didn't happen. That was earmarked, but it was put into the fire department communication fund just
Okay.
because all the communication money was put there.
that was that link.
So that was
between the two
earmarked
that you-
specific, that's why it says earmarked for police.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, Naomi.
Did you second that, Rick?
I did for discussion, and that was it.
Any other discussion?
Thought you were gonna wait for the answers.
Wait for the answers.
Oh, yeah, you gotta add that into the motion.
And pending
the
the
radio.
chief's discussion with them on service on the,
R&R.
With the radio.
yeah, and R&R, it's between Ossipee Mountain and R&R servicing the equipment.
You get all the fine print on
That's a good one. Twists and turns in the back road.
Hey, you
that?
hit
Okay,
it.
anyone else?
Yeah.
Jan, anything?
No.
I get it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Was that 4?
That's
Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
I didn't hear Jim.
What kind of cars are we getting?
Dodge
We got it
Chargers.
through the state bid, so it'll be the same thing that state police drive.
Dodge
well,
Charger.
they have multiple bids, so these are
Just
the
wonder
Dodge
if I could get
Chargers.
away.
Oh my.
Unfair.
Maybe in the Shelby.
Well, you have those little flip-flops stenciled on your back window, I noticed, so that'll get you going.
The initial plate might be in the way.
Oh, no.
Chief, would be
No,
advised
they're,
as to what
no.
you have, right?
Right, I was gonna ask you that question. If I get an affirmative response from them with regard to whether R&R will support them and whether or not the warranty would be extended to them, to R&R doing the warranty work, then I can go ahead and do it. If I don't get that affirmative, I gotta come back.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Then we'll figure out plan B.
That's it.
Did you have anything else, Chief?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You.
Next on the agenda was the approval of minutes from May 1st, which is the first thing I would change because the minutes said April 24th.
Oops. Been a minute.
So if we could change that. And then I had just two other things myself. Did anybody have anything on page 1? Anyone on page 1, minutes? Page 2? Page 3, almost dead center in the middle, it's just, it says, stated that there might be, and just change that from THEIR to THERE. Chairman Close stated that there might be, it might not be formal minutes, etc. And then at the very, on the very last page, in the last paragraph, third line down, the painting on the, and it says Stone Memorial Building, but I know that they were really talking about the Clinton Grove Academy.
Correct.
The painting on that,
Yep.
so we could change that to Clinton Grove Academy. Anybody else have anything in these minutes? Move we approve the minutes of May 1st as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I move to order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payable checks dated May 11th, 2017, as included in the following manifests. The payroll manifest of $44,932.49. An accounts payable manifest of $48,064.07. There's also a supplemental accounts payable manifest that came in late of $14,073.68, and there's a manifest for payment to the Weare School District for $450,000. So the total is $557,070.24. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Administrator's report.
I have a couple things that Wendy gave me. First of all is, came in late this afternoon, was an intent to cut for Gary Remillard. If you guys would, that's the first thing. The second thing, I have an application for a voluntary change of address. Where it's voluntary, you don't need a public hearing. The applicants have signed it, and the address is gonna be changed from 47 Pine Hill Road to 35 Sunrise Lane, because Sunrise Lane is off of Pine Hill Road, and that's where the driveways are going to be. So, and there's a signature for everybody, so you don't need to make a motion. I just want you to know when it's coming down your way, what that is. The second thing, third thing, I have the tax warrant, but we have a little bit of a dilemma that I need to solve first. So I'm gonna ask you to sign the tax warrant, but there's one piece of property that didn't get liened that should have been liened. And the finance administrator has asked that we complete the lien prior to the warrant because it makes a real mess. So although I'll ask you to sign it, I'm going to hold it until the lien gets completed for the one person, because it does make a mess once we pull the trigger to do the property taxes. So just, you know, just, you can pass this big thing down and you guys can sign it, but tax bills won't be done right away because of the lien that needs to be executed.
Is it gonna complicate it because we use tonight's date and the lien is applied after tonight?
I don't know. Assessing asked me to have it signed for tonight, but they know that they aren't going to apply it until after this. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I was told.
Anyone else have questions concerning?
If you don't want to sign it, it's okay. Also, I've, on the report, I really haven't added much to it, other than I think you guys got the April reports from Beth while I was gone. And I may have come up with a different solution for the locker, working with one department head. So before we bring it out again, I'm gonna still work on that with them. And then I don't know the next meetings for the ordinances committees, if there are ones. And I don't have any update on the gazebo, because I just haven't had a chance to do that. But before you take off from there, Dick Letters has been our Scatterquag Local River Advisory Committee representative. Even though he doesn't live in Weare, he's willing to continue to serve as Ware's rep. I think it's similar to what Bill Herman does for us with the co-op. So if not, he'll just continue as an at-large, but we're gonna have to fill that with a Ware rep.
Number I'd like to wait.
Just going back to that, if you find that there's an issue with it,
Yep.
then I would say just pull that cover page and we redate it and do another one.
Okay.
If there's no issue with it, then go ahead.
Yep.
Sign it.
No.
Yeah.
I want it right before I sign it.
So you
That's
wanna
fine.
hold up?
I want to
Yeah.
hold up before I sign it.
We're gonna hold it up, right now.
I'll lug it back upstairs.
I'll give you a hand.
Not a big deal.
Might need a hand truck, get that back upstairs.
Okay. So on the Piscataqua River Local Advisory Committee, Dick has reached out to me as he's interested still staying on unless somebody else wants it.
Give me a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I
To
move
have-
that we appoint Dick Letters as our representative on the Piscataqua.
Yeah, it's PRLAC.
Yeah. You got it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I have one, but I'll talk about it under correspondence. It was just a conversation, somebody came in today. So I'm all set.
Okay, public comment. Betty?
May I stay here? I think you can all hear me.
Okay.
I wish you people would speak up and open your mouths when you speak, because it's so hard to hear what you are saying. And I think we all have a right to know what is being said.
I'm sorry.
Please, speak up.
I've been accused of mumbling before.
Right.
You're not alone.
You know, maybe we should look at something that projects the voice here, because this is simply for the
Home.
home. Maybe something can be put in here so that there's a speaker that
Maybe the
would
back
help
corner.
that. This is the way I've talked all my life. I'll try, but I can't make promises.
It's a side conversations too. Go on.
But, you know, we're talking in class, guys.
Okay.
Yes, I'll try to be better.
Well, it's nice to be soft-spoken at times, but this is not one of them.
As a school principal, I was following the Teddy Roosevelt example of speak softly.
Carry the big stick.
Why'd you
What?
carry a big stick?
I can say carry the big stick.
I didn't do that. Okay. Would anybody like to speak from here?
Eldon Towns, Huntington Hill. I'm here to just follow up, see if anything was brought to the general contractors and clerk of the works for the garage that we discussed and addressed all our concerns about last Monday. If anything was brought forward, or if there's a plan to bring
Nothing has
forward to
moved on
them.
it yet.
Okay,
And I say we, it really wasn't we, just Naomi is back for the first time today,
yes,
being out on sick leave, and I spoke to her earlier in the day and talked in terms of perhaps having a presentation made, a public presentation made to the board by the contractors,
okay.
so that it would be,
Would we be able to put that on the agenda for next week to have a real discussion with the public instead of a public comment where we can, you know,
Like a forum.
have the formal discussion?
Contractor. We'd have to get the contractor here.
yeah, we'd have to
Yeah.
check
Well,
that
that-
To
out.
see
You
what
know.
their schedule is.
Yeah, that'd be best.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'd have
then
to
make it
get that
present.
scheduled and then we'll put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I think that would really,
But to try and say, oh yeah, next week, I don't know if that's realistic, you know.
I know how it is.
Yeah.
I know how it is, yeah.
So,
So,
try to do it as expeditiously as possible.
yeah, yeah. They want to move forward with it too, so
Yeah.
I think they can make it happen too. So, all right, well, that's all for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Eldon.
Public comment, anyone else?
They can go in the box, actually, in with Wendy's stuff.
Tim Matheson, 80 River Road. So no one reached out to talk to the clerk of the works in reference to last week's items we had.
I wasn't here.
Right.
Actually, again, as chair, I visit Naomi on occasion, and we talked today about setting up a meeting this afternoon, before tonight's meeting, if possible. That wasn't possible. So, you know, early in the week, as soon as he's available, then the three of us will sit down and just go over some of the questions that were asked at the last meeting.
Could it be more than just the three of you? Could it be other members of the board?
If we do that, then we have to post it as a meeting. It's not a public meeting, it's not a public comment forum. It's a matter of answering questions that were asked.
Okay. But on the same note, last week, Tom, you mentioned that you really had no skills of a building.
May I ask you
I'm
what
just-
your job is?
Excuse me?
Are you a contractor?
No, I'm not.
Well, neither am I. So, but if I sit down with the town administrator who sat in on all the meetings with the contractor and with the clerk of the works who sat in on all the meetings with the contractor, then I'll have a better understanding of it.
But I don't understand why just are you doing that as chairman, or as what, did you designate yourself to do it, or? I don't think the chairman's job is to do that, to be honest with you. I don't think
Well,
it's,
I think the thing to do is, you know, to get the public to get questions asked and answered, is like we said, we'll put it on the agenda, have them come in
Absolutely.
here and put it on the, and I think that's the most expeditious way to do it.
Does anyone else have a problem with my meeting
No.
with the?
You sat on the, and I don't, but you sat on the original
I don't either.
advisory board. I sat on the building committee itself, but because of the hours that are involved now, I don't have the time to attend it between work and everything else, because they usually do it in the morning. So I think the thing to do was, you know, and I agree that have Tom as the chairman, he has some knowledge of this from the beginning. Would be proper to have him sit there originally and then get some of these preliminary questions done, but the rest of it be brought to the public thing, public forum again, to a meeting, and have you people come in and ask the questions directly
And some
of the
questions-
contractor and the clerk of the works.
Some of the questions that were asked, you know, these are questions that I have too, that the board would have too. You know, concerning the, the humidifiers, for example, that was brought up. The cost of
Dehumidifier.
them, and whether or not ventilation fans would be a cheaper way to go. But again, we were careful when the board as a whole, the 5 members of the board who sat here at that time, had to put this out to bid twice, which is part of the problem with the cost increase, because we were too late to get bids for the summer of 2016. So we had to put it out again in August with the intent of building in 2017. And then we got quite a few, but there were only 2 that were reasonable as far as cost. And we interviewed those, I think it was more than 2, but we
We interviewed 4.
Four final.
And then we narrowed it down to
To 2.
And we interviewed them a second time and decided, we chose a company that was very well recognized, winner of awards,
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
winner of awards for their ethics as well as their construction, and who are doing projects in surrounding towns. So, you know, we feel confident that we have a company that really knows what they're doing. So anyways, that's,
Well, I have no trouble with GC. All right, is the packet that was talked about last week here tonight?
there were
To be
2
signed off on?
packets. Could you just explain
Sure.
what they were?
There is nothing to be signed off on. One packet is just a packet that included the bond that said that, here's my bond for 1.36 to build your garage. It's nothing to be signed. It's signed by insurance company, delivered to me. So that was one. The other packet was GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price, which the clerk of the works is verifying to make sure that nothing got missed. That's why it's not here. But those are the 2 packets that got delivered.
To Bruce. He did say to Bruce that they,
Sure, Bruce has the
Bruce,
GMP.
if they
I
want
have
to
the
be
bond
signed-
because they left the bond for me.
I did see the bond, yes.
Right,
There
those
were
are the 2 packets.
No, there was a bond that was separate, there was a separate piece.
Well, I can't tell you what, I'm just saying what I was told. That's all I was telling you.
I just remember Tony handing them to Bruce and saying that it needs signatures.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, the other thing too was on the mezzanine, is, can you ask the clerk of the works if there's a secondary means of egress? If there's a window or fire ladder other than the stairs? Because it was said that there was no permanent workstation on the upper mezzanine. But in fact, though, they're gonna build hoses up there. They're gonna have all the rubber up there, they're gonna have the hose cutting machine, the crimper, you know, so a guy could spend, you know, an hour up there, a half hour, but you're still gonna have someone up there. You're gonna be dragging up oily hoses. You're gonna have oily rags, and oily rags is a mechanism of fire. I just hate to see somebody up there without no protection or means of escape.
Yeah, that's very reasonable, and I don't think that would be a big issue, putting.
But there is a workstation in that upper mezzanine.
So that'll be in the minutes.
Okay? And could you add to the, my list, I want to put this in last week, but the heat exchanger versus a dehumidifier.
That question.
That's a more common sense
That
approach.
question will be asked, so
Yeah.
I made a note that one will get asked. But we'll do that when we get the, I would say ask the contractor and have them go, whoever the subcontractor is that's doing the heating and the HVAC in there, and they're the ones that, you know, can explain to it, and we can make the adjustments from there if we have to.
So, here's my thinking on this. Look at the whole package. Is there any way to say, whether we're looking at a dehumidifier or we're looking at something else, any way to say that will allow us to apply some of that money toward a fire suppression system? And we're not gonna come up with $180,000 in savings.
You don't know that.
That's right, I don't know that, but that's what I would go into this looking at. We have the building, as far as the structure, that's what it's gonna be. Okay, so what can we do within that framework of expenses that can be altered in such a way to put money toward a fire suppression system? Nobody here on this board or everybody, you know, would like to see it as presented. It's just the dollars didn't add up. And we discussed the direction we went 100 times, and we'll both come out probably with the same wish list, but we are where we are, so what can we do about it? And
But it's your job as a board. You are acting fiduciaries for the voters, and you have to bring their wishes to light, which has, you know, it's been mentioned time and time again that the fire suppression was the main key that people voted on that for. You know, people in town aren't dumb. You know, within 2 weeks you have a building burned down next door, and a month prior you have one burning up north. This is the only reason why that thing passed, and I think, Tom, if you don't get it, you shouldn't be in your position.
well, here I am.
Yeah, unfortunately. Thank you.
Sherry Burdick, 382 Deering Center Road. A couple of things. One thing was, I have not seen any of the drawings for this building, no specs. And can you answer me, is there an overall operating budget that's been presented to the board?
Yes, we had it, I think that's what we were given last week.
Dates,
There's the date
as well.
Yeah.
Just date.
Just dates. Yeah, there's no monetary on
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
there. No monetary, only dates.
All right. So would it be possible for me to get a copy of the drawings, all of the drawings, you know, a complete set, and a copy of all the specs, any MSDS sheets, and operating costs of the equipment, that new equipment that's going in, and then a separate cost of, you know, a separate ballpark operating cost? Because I would have thought we would have had that already before we
have
started
it, I
this.
just don't have it here. Naomi, we have it.
Okay.
So, you know, and obviously it's public information, but, you know, it's done,
All right.
okay?
Okay, I know it's done, that's the problem, we're hearing about this after the fact, and I guess with hindsight, I wish I'd have stayed on that building committee, because I think that there'd have been a lot of things brought front, and now it's like it's too late.
Yeah, well, you know, hindsight, I wish that I had sat in on the committee with the construction company. But, you know, we all have limits to our time, and I didn't. So when the original planning group dispersed, and also I was in a different position on the board at that time, I didn't pursue it as far as sitting in on those meetings.
Right.
I wish I had, because now I could sit here and be much more fluent in my answers than what I'm able to do. And that's why we will bring in the contractors and have the discussion with the people who know what they're doing.
All right. Another question is, and I thought, I'm trying to think of all these things after the fact, but why wasn't there ever a contingency plan put? Because I've never heard of a building going in, over $1 million building going in and no contingency plan at 10%. That's pretty standard. And why wasn't that done? Why wasn't that addressed to the voters at the deliberation session? I couldn't come, I was sick in bed, I'd been sick for 2 months. I mean, that should have been something that was done between the board and the town administrator. That should have been brought forward. That's pretty straightforward. So, I guess I don't know if you can answer me that question.
What we did, I can sort of answer it, because we had a per square foot price that we use, and we used it, got it from two sources, okay? One, we had a couple of board members who were in that, and so they said, like $100 a square foot is pretty standard price for that. Then we asked about the Henniker building and what would the square footage cost there, and what did that include? And then when we calculated ours, we added a little to that, and the feeling was that, our town is very prudent when it comes to spending money, as you're aware. And things like contingency sounds like slush funds. So we were reluctant to say we're gonna add the 10% contingency fund. So we tried to look at it as, okay, we're estimating the cost per square foot. I wish Steve Roberts was here, because he was very much a leader as part of this and would be able to confirm this. But so we took and looked at it as a little higher on the square footage, believing that that would come out to be our contingency. Obviously, and I'm not looking for excuses, it's just that over the period of the 2 years that it took for us to get this all nailed down, the year and a half, it cost more than what we had estimated its cost to be. But that discussion of the contingency was brought up with the committee. We were worried that that would lose us the project, and so we tried to do it on a square footage basis, because that was an estimate anyways.
Okay. Last week I asked about the minutes from all the meetings, and you told me to talk with Naomi. After the meeting, I actually spoke with Jack for a minute, and he informed me there wasn't any minutes. So I'm asking Naomi, where are all the minutes from the original committee that sat for over a year working on it?
I'd have to ask the chair or someone that would have taken minutes. I didn't go to those meetings.
There's no minutes, and those minutes are supposed to be turned into the town office within 5 days.
What I did was, first I contacted Mary Rice.
Yeah.
Actually went up, and she looked through stuff that was Tim Redmond's. And then I called Tim Redmond, and he said that anything related to that would be with his CIP minutes. So Mary went back and went through his CIP minutes, and there are notes there that she didn't find anything specifically that said minutes. And I don't know why, because
you sat on that committee the whole time.
I remember minutes. I might have even taken the minutes at one time when nobody else was there to do it. But, I know that Lori Davis was chair of that, and I believe she took minutes at times. But, I actually had 2 calls. Tim called me back, and later in the day had asked if we had found what we were looking for. And, I told him that Mary had found his folder that related to the building. And that's as far as it's gone.
Okay. So as a committee, as a total selectmen committee here, and as Naomi as the town administrator, do you all know what the law is on posting minutes, posting meetings, and having minutes taken and having those available to the public? Because it seems that it's fallen through the cracks, because I don't believe there's any minutes. And I've talked to several people that were on that committee, and they said no minutes were taken.
To answer your question, yes, 5 work days.
Right. But none of those minutes were none of those meetings were posted, that they were gonna have them. None of them are being posted now with this subcommittee that's working on it. And there's no minutes being taken now either, from what I understand, because there's no minutes upstairs and they have to be brought in, as you said, 5 days available to the public. So I think we're going in circles here because we're not getting any information written down. And if somebody wants to go back and look at this, it's right to know. I mean, it's a state law. I don't know what you're gonna do about it, but it's not a good situation, and somebody should be held accountable.
I think in the original committee, which I sat on as just an outside member before I was a selectman, I did bring up that A, the meetings had to be posted, B, that the minutes would be taken, and I never saw a posting on anyone because there was a selectman involved in it. The other thing is Lori, I know originally wanted somebody to take them and nobody was gonna be the minute taker, and she said she would take them. So I think it would fall back on her as the chairman as to where those minutes are.
Well, I think
She said she'd take some of them.
I think it's gotta fall beyond that,
Well,
because we have,
I see there's a lot of people that fall,
we have
but the
the
problem
whole chair
is
here that knew those meetings were going on, and a town administrator, and nobody ever wanted to look at any of those minutes?
I mean, anybody that was there probably took their own notes. I took some notes on it, I've got some notes, and I probably haven't got them now. I don't know if I still got them. I mean, I do have some of them, I know, because I found some a while ago.
I really think that somebody should be held accountable, first of all, and secondly, I think you better revise whatever the standard is, so everyone's aware, whether Naomi has to go and check the board to see if the minute, because there's a whole thing there. I mean, there's several people involved. Somebody should be looking to say, oh, is this meeting posted? Oh, it's been 5 days since that posting, where are the minutes? I mean, somebody's gotta be doing something.
And like I said, some of that falls back on the chairman of the committee, too.
Well,
They're
there's the
supposed to-
volunteers, though, they're not paid.
Everybody was
employee-
volunteers.
Not a paid employee here.
I mean, everybody on that committee was a volunteer.
And what's going on with the minutes now? Naomi, is there minutes being taken? Are
Of
those
what?
being put?
I mean, this is public comment. I don't know that it deserves a two-way conversation personally. But I'm
Well,
just
I'm
gonna
just trying to
say,
find out.
right, but this second committee that you've claimed is a committee is
Tom
not a
told me it
committee.
was.
Every
Tom,
Friday is
it's been
committee.
referred by Tom several times as a committee.
It is, well, it's committee in a general sense, but it's the contractors' meeting. That's what, all of those have been contractor meetings.
Okay.
And, you know, I don't see that as the same thing as the planning committee. I think that you're absolutely right that we should have had minutes on that committee for the planning leading up to this. I don't feel the same way about the contractors' meetings because those are professional contractors working out the details of this. They really weren't public meetings. They're internal, and you can disagree with me, but they never were thought of as that. The only people involved were the town administrator, the person who will be the clerk of the works, and the contractors. And I think that perhaps you went to a few of those.
I went to, I think, two or three in the preliminary.
No, that's, you went before we even started
And then,
anything.
yeah.
Steve
before-
Roberts was
Steve
upstairs.
Roberts,
It was before we did
Picked
the
it a-
specs, we did everything,
picked
before we even went
contract.
down the route we're talking about now.
And then, once the contractor was, they had contractor meetings, but I don't have time for that.
All
I've
right.
got my own contractor meetings to go to.
All right, I have another question for you. It's not a public comment, it's really a question. And I would like to know what process was used when you hired the clerk of the works, since I was told there was no posting ever put in the paper for that job. And Tom, you've told me that if it's under anything over $1,000, it has to be posted in a public.
But it's not a separate, it's part of the payment that goes along with the whole project.
That's, that,
It was put out once. Why wouldn't it be put out again the second time?
Because, I'll just.
And let me read this. On March 21st, a request for RFQs was reviewed. The clerk of the work services will be advertised. March 28th, there was no report. These are the reports from, under the administrator's report. On March 28th, there was no report, okay? Come to find out, the newspaper article went into the newspaper on March 31st with the bid to be due April 4th.
Well, that doesn't give much time.
And you had to contact, by phone, the selectman's office, or emailing the town administrator to find out what they wanted.
March 31st, would that be like a Thursday or a
That's a
Friday?
Thursday, and you had Friday to get the information of what they wanted.
And Monday to
then
call? Or-
Monday, the bid was due. And then it just says no bids were received. Well, I don't know why there would have been.
So, I don't know if this is a legal thing, the way this was done, truly. I don't think you can just pick Joe Blow, well, he's a good guy, let's bring him in for a general contractor. I don't think you can do that. I think this has to go to bid. We're not
Not a
talking,
general contractor.
well, clerk of the works,
General contractor went out to bid.
clerk of the works.
It's a totally different thing.
Well, general contractor went out to bid. I think clerk of the works ought to be going out to bid too. And I don't think you can do that unless you do it, number one. And number two is, what's this person being paid? How much an hour does he get paid, clerk of the works?
Do you have that?
Yeah, it's 85. I mean, the request for the invoice was asked for.
$85 an hour, and the job didn't go out to bid.
A request for the invoice?
Yeah,
Prior
you,
to that, what he was
No,
gonna be paid?
no. But you
When
guys,
you
signed.
hired him,
You
you
signed the
didn't
manifest.
No, no.
You did, and you asked for a
$85 per-
request, and you know what, I'm not gonna go there. I'll just leave it
No,
alone.
wait a minute though. If you're gonna pay him $85 an hour, I can
Jan, we're in the middle of
understand.
public comment.
Right.
Why don't we talk about this as far as a board after the public comment?
And then I was told by one of the selectmen here that there had been a cap put on that job, a payment cap. And can you tell me anything about that?
Again, it would be in the breakdown.
It's not in the minutes. I've read the minutes back now for over a year. There's nothing in the minutes. So I don't know how good those minutes are if you're not gonna record what's going on. And I don't wanna have to come up here every Monday, but I guess if I have to come up every Monday, I will.
Well, you certainly will.
Well, Tom, it's not right.
I
If
don't
you
need
tell
to.
me that if I get somebody to plaster a ceiling over there, I gotta go out and get 3 bids, if it's over $1,000. But yet you're gonna pay somebody $85 an hour for some extended period of time, which if it's into October, we could be talking $100,000. You don't think that deserves going out to bid? I think it deserves going out to bid, and I'm wondering what's going on here, if there's some conflict of interest, because it doesn't even make any sense to me. I don't know about the rest of the people.
Wasn't there a total amount to be spent on that position, not to exceed?
Well, we'll look into it, okay, and
I'd like,
if we decide it should go out to bid, then we'll start that process, okay?
I'd like to know one way or the other.
Yes, certainly, Jan.
I really have missed a lot of this process about the new building. But I think, having lived here for many, many moons, we have run into problems with general contractors, and we have picked local men to help us build schools and whatever. I remember dancing at the high school gym when we were so happy to have our own gym, and dancing around, and all of a sudden the plywood roof is collapsing. And I thought then, coming from a family of carpenters, that, oh boy, something was done wrong here, and many people could have got hurt. And then we went to a cement, I wanted to call it a German bunker high school that the kids went to. So I have seen it all in our town. And I think a lot of it is who's ever running the job, or whatever you plan for, whatever your plan is, you've got to have the guy that really knows what he's doing electrically and roofing and material used. And I think that we've been burnt many, many times. I feel really bad that this building is going to be down by the dump. I think it should have been located somewhere else. Especially big fire trucks trying to get up that hill in the winter, going down there. I just think the location was bad. I think we've got land available that could have been used and put the new building up. I haven't seen the building. I don't know what the whole status is on that. But I think as a taxpayer and seeing my tax dollars going down out to some things that really should have been taken care of, like this process right now. And I really think you need to get a special clerk of the works. I think somebody, not just a general carpenter, but I think you really need somebody that knows about building. And I'm sure we probably have people here in town that could be available or to help or assist or whatever. But I think you save money that way because you get the best. If this guy comes in and says a general contractor is doing something wrong, then fix it then. But I think we've had roofs collapse, we've had buildings that we couldn't even heat, we've had the wrong heating systems in buildings. I mean, I've been around in this town a long, long time, and I've seen this, and we have been burnt many, many times. And I think it's just that if you've got somebody that really knows what they're doing as a superintendent or whoever, and I don't even know who you've hired, but I really think that is a special person that you have to pay the money for because you'll get it back when you build your building. And if it's not done properly, then we all suffer by collapsing or whatever, and the snow load and everything. So that's my take on this. Go ahead and do it, but make sure you got the guy that knows what he's doing. Putting up a big building, $1 million is a lot of money. You should have that guy that's going to build it or help do that and supervise it. He's got to know what he's doing. And I think a general contractor on a building this size, you need to go higher. That's my comment. So.
Eldon again. There was a gentleman that I heard that there was helping with the permitting process with the new building, and he offered some services at a pretty irrefusable rate, and that was turned down for a clerk of the work position. I want to know why that was or how that happened, as to, you know, why this gentleman's offer wasn't taken seriously.
Ellen, I have no idea, and I'm not trying to be rude, I have no idea what you're talking about as far as who or what or when.
The name's Kevin Cahill.
Kevin would have been our first choice, because I visited him when he was the clerk of the works in the Henniker building and walked through it with him, heard him.
Yeah.
As fact,
He's a wicked,
interacting.
Really smart.
He could not do it.
Okay.
So, yes, he certainly was top of our, actually.
So he simply just didn't have the time.
He did not have the time to do it. Actually,
Okay.
he sat in with us on our meetings when we selected our contractor.
Okay, all right. Okay, great, thanks.
Greg McDowell, Sugar Hill. I was on that original building committee with Jack and Tom, and Sherry and Helene and Bruce, and there was a guy by the name of Kevin that didn't show up very often. But my concern with the building, the way it's being built, was that, first of all, I don't like design and build, because they're gonna build what they're gonna make the most money on. When we talked about this, remember we had the other print, and we made little cardboard pieces of equipment. They were in there like sardines, but they fit. And it was a drive-through, and the reason for that was you open the door, you drive the trucks in, there's a minimum amount of heat loss. When you open the other door to drive them out, again, there's a minimum amount. Now, if all the trucks are going in or out, and you got that whole side of the building, you're gonna lose a lot of heat, and it's gonna take a long time to recover that heat. That's the problem with that. Backtracking a little bit, on the cruises, on the equipment, I was on the finance committee for the last 2 years. The problem with that is that what the estimate was $10,000 per car. And at $25,000 for the car and 10, that's 35 times 3 is 105, 107. That's real close, right in the same ballpark. Now it's gone up by 50%. He's talking 15,000 per car. Why is that? I'm not looking for heads here. I'm just wanting to know why there's been a 50% increase over what was presented to the finance committee.
it was an estimate. I think probably, and again, I'm speculating here, but I think the estimate on equipping the cars may have come from the prior year. But that was the estimate of $10,000
That's
per
right.
car.
Absolutely.
And so that's what was brought before CIP. So it goes out to bid, and you heard tonight what we got for bids on it.
Mhm.
So all I can say is it was a low estimate. I mean, I don't know.
I can see a fluctuation, maybe $1,000 a car, making 11, but to go 50% over what the original estimate was?
I mean, all I could say.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The
I
math
do-
is
I do
just
exactly,
totally
but
out
I
of
don't
kilter.
know. The chief put it out to bid. We got 4 different bids on it, and they all came in well above the amount that was specified for the CIP article. So, I don't have an answer for you, except that those are the bids.
That's a
that we
big hit to
got,
the
and so-
taxpayers, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, the extra money, a chunk of it he'll have to find it in his budget.
Yeah.
And then.
But something else is gonna suffer.
And then the other part was the communication funds that we had. And those were, we've combined in the last few years the communications
I
for
know.
the 3
I'm
departments.
not aware of that.
So that they're all serviced by R&R Communications rather than try to seek
Right.
out other vendors for different projects. And so we've saved some money in that. And so even though that money was listed, some of it that we talked about tonight was listed under the fire department communications that had been earmarked for police because it's all one pot now. So we were able to use that, and then, like I said, the additional, the chief will have to find in his budget.
The dispute or the question I have is not really where are you gonna get the money to pay for it? You
Yeah,
explained that
yeah,
well right up in the beginning when
It's
he was
why-
still here.
Why did we estimate low, and,
But
I'm sorry, I don't. have
Somebody
that
said that
answer.
may have been the previous year,
might
but I
have.
can't see things are gonna
just-
go up 50% in 1 year.
Yeah, and I
That's
don't-
not likely. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's not likely that it would.
I
Things are
don't know.
gonna go up, they're never gonna go down, but, you know.
I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't, because these are the bids we got. We need to outfit the cruisers, so.
But did he actually do any bids for the year before that, when they were asking for 5 cars? Did he actually, like a mock bid? We're gonna have 5 cars, we need to outfit 5 cars, what's the estimate to outfit them with the lights and all the other interior of the cage and?
I can't answer that, I don't know. He's a pretty thorough guy. so-
I'm not,
I
that's
don't-
not the
but I
issue,
can't
it's the tax impact to the taxpayers.
I know.
That was what was presented to the CIP, that was presented to the Finance Committee, and now it's gone up by 50%. That's a big hit.
Yeah. On the outfitting
Yeah,
of the car.
the car's the same, because that's state bid, that's through the state, I realize that. But the outfitting, that's a big chunk. Thank you.
Helene Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. Tom, I can appreciate the fact that if you have 3 selectmen at a meeting, you have to post it. But with the feelings that we have, that many people have about the committee, I personally feel that any selectman that is available, that wants to go, that it serves the community better. And
That's fine, why don't we post it once we know when the meeting is going to be, and then for the, if 2 of us are there, it doesn't matter.
right.
If 3 of us are there, it's legal because it's posted, so.
Okay.
I'm not trying to hog the limelight here,
I know, but I was watching what went on earlier, and it kind of, the impression that I got was that it would just be among those, and because of the burden of posting it, it would exclude other selectmen that might be available, appreciating that selectmen work too. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Richard Brown, 37 George Moody Road. how'd you, ever come up, pay this guy $85 an hour?
Does he come with a machine or what? For 6 months, do you have a cap on how much, I mean, is he gonna go overtime, make 100,000, 6 months, that's a pretty good deal.
Well,
You sure what you're getting?
I can't personally answer.
Well,
That-
somebody should know.
Yeah.
I mean, the qualifications. I mean, you want, you give me 75 and I'll do it.
I'll just,
thinking the same thing, right?
Okay, I've heard 65.
65, yeah.
I'll do it for 25, you'll save $70,000 or so, and then you can put that toward the fire
Okay,
suppression.
let's stay on track here, okay?
What's that?
I just want to keep it on a serious note, okay?
Right, well, I am.
And I understand what you're saying, and my answer is, I don't know where that number came from.
And I mean,
But again, I have not been in on any of the meetings, and I don't mean that as an excuse. Actually, I am gonna say something in my own defense, and that is, I wasn't even supposed to be on the original committee.
Right.
Somebody else more qualified in that line of work, who was a board member, was supposed to be on that committee. Couldn't make the first meeting, and so I said, I'll cover. And couldn't make the second meeting, I said I'd cover. So I ended up being the committee member. And now I feel like I should have borrowed a flak jacket from Chief when he was here. Just joking about that.
right. I'm
But,
not-
it's hard to sit here and not understand that people feel mistakes have been made. But there was no intent to deceive anybody in this whole process. That's just.
Well, no, it isn't that. It's just, well, you just grab this number out of the sky at $85 an hour, and you don't have the guy, okay, now he's gonna be on overtime and this, that, and the other thing. You don't have no cap on what's the total expense gonna be for the clerk of the works? 150,000, 125 for 6 months' work?
What I'm gonna say is that I'm sure that in the breakdown of costs of the contractor, there should be a specific amount in there, in that $1,360,000. There's gonna be a line for clerk of the works. I don't have that line in front of me tonight, but that's the way I would do it at least. And then you would have that cap.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound like a very good deal to me.
Well, he doesn't work 40 hours a week either, Rick. He only works when he's needed on certain times, because they're not up there every day building this building.
Right, but there's no cap? I ain't heard
Believe
nothing about
There
it.
is a cap on it, and I can't remember what
I
it
can't remember, I
was.
think there is too.
There's
I
a
can't
cap
remember.
on it, and I can't remember what it is, and it's in part of the package for this building. And it's not that much.
Not
Okay.
that much, what is it?
I can't
It's like
remember.
the ad value.
I can't
It's like
remember
the
the
ad
effect,
value.
I can't remember without looking at the paperwork in front of me, but I know it's not, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know that.
I mean, we're already paying for a building inspector. Why can't he do it?
Well,
That's a,
at times that, that's,
I mean, let's,
he can't be the clerk of the works and inspect the same building. It's kind of a conflict. So he can only do one or the other.
well,
He oversees what's going on up there to make sure it's within code.
right.
He can't go up there and be there
I
at
understand
certain
that.
times when the building's being constructed and still have to do his other job, because then it's like double dipping.
Right, no, I understand that. But, I mean, at some point, he can, I know he's gotta keep stuff at code. He's gotta inspect everything for code. But why are we paying his, if it's not to code and the clerk of the works isn't doing his job,
Well,
then,
the clerk of the works is there to make sure that this thing comes in the way it's supposed to. It's put up basically the way it's supposed to. What we ordered and paid for is there, and the parts, it's like looking at a parts list when you get something. Is your parts there when you do something?
Right.
Is it all
No.
there, all these things there? And that's what part of it is. The rest of it, and he reports directly
all
to
your
them. He doesn't
slump,
work for the contract.
all the slump tests on the concrete and everything else.
Rebar.
Yeah, meets the specifications and so forth. And then it goes from there to, make sure it goes to the building inspector to make sure it meets that, you know, so. The easiest thing to answer this is that we will get the answers and we'll get it, and we will have a meeting, like I said, we will get it posted, and we'll have the contractor here, the clerk here, and these questions can be brought forth in the form. To ask us without the paperwork is ambushing. Put it that way, because we don't have the answers, and unless you're on the agenda to bring this specifically, we
Right.
can't answer these. And at the last meeting, you know, the same thing was said, we'll get the answers, but Naomi wasn't here, and you can't do that, you're in construction, you know that you can't get them there all the time when you want them, they have schedules also. It's not the
Oh, I
only
understand,
project.
yeah, I understand that.
So, we will do that and do it expeditiously, I think is the best way to do it.
All right,
And put the meeting out in plenty of time so everybody can be there and ask the questions.
all right.
Wendy Clark, Bogue Road. I have a couple of questions. At that meeting that you're going to post, is that going to have an itemization of the cost?
That'll all be covered, whatever it's.
That'll be
gonna-
at the
Yeah,
meeting?
we'll make sure you ask the questions and we'll get the answers.
Okay, so an itemization will be there, should be there. And just a comment, just sitting here listening to everybody, there's a lot of frustration, and the frustration is coming from you're talking about intent. Impression is 99% of reality. So whatever anybody is thinking in their mind, that's what's going on. In order for it not to look like you're hiding anything, I think you need to hold people accountable like you do in the outside world, not just in the public view. It just looks like there's stuff going on. Being on the other side at one point, I know there isn't, or I'm hope that there isn't. But again, you're sitting here, you can't answer questions. People are coming up asking the same questions over and over because they are frustrated and they're not getting any answers. That doesn't look good for the town. It just makes us look real poor, and I don't think anybody wants that. But I would suggest that you guys take a real good look at what everybody's job is supposed to be and make sure that they're doing it, that they own it, and that they're held accountable for it.
Good evening, Richard Butt. Public comment where the fun begins, I guess. I have some concerns, and my primary concern is fire suppression. Selectman Meany indicated that the role of the clerk of the works is to make sure it's being built like it's supposed to be. Well, I think it's supposed to be built with fire suppression, regardless of the reasons why it isn't. Because that's what was promised to the voters. And I hope you're not losing sight of that. Now, when Mr. Towns got up and you responded by saying there's going to be a public hearing, is that correct?
Public hearing? I don't know.
What is it?
We'll invite the contractor in, and the clerk of the works, and come in, and it'll be on the agenda so people can ask the questions. To ask us without being on an agenda and having what the questions are gonna be, we can't be prepared for it and answer some of these, because we don't know.
That's a public hearing, right?
No, it's a public hearing, it's for public information. They'll come in and ask the questions and get their questions answered that they have.
That's a public hearing.
To me, a public hearing's a little different, but okay.
My concept of this is that there would be a presentation to the board would ask questions, and then we could open it up.
Well, I'm just curious as to how it's going to be managed. Is the contractor going to come in with an option of putting fire suppression in?
Well, we'll ask that
Has the
question.
board already made a decision regarding fire suppression?
Not yet.
Well,
We're trying to look at options.
yeah, I have to disagree, because as it stands right now, the building, we said this last week and again this week, and actually the week before that, I believe, when the presentation was made to the board, that there is not a fire suppression system included in the plan. But what we're looking at doing is there anything in the building as it's presented that could be changed or eliminated in a way that would bring the cost down so that we can apply at least some of the money to it. And I said this earlier, toward the fire suppression system. But, you know, I'm talking off the top of my head, I don't have that information here. All I'm saying is that this is a question that I would ask of the contractor.
I think it was just, this is the single biggest municipal project we've had in this town. And I just don't like the way it's managed. I just don't have a good, sound feeling that the information was presented to the board in a timely fashion. And I guess primarily, my reason for saying that is that when the clerk of the works came in and made a presentation of the facility, it seemed as though that most of you indicated that you just heard that that there is no fire suppression. I think Tom indicated you had heard about it prior Saturday.
Prior Saturday night.
Those drawings didn't just show up overnight. It takes a few days to create those types of engineering drawings. So somebody made a decision. And I know in response, Mr. Meany, in response to a question by one of the selectmen, you indicated the question was, does the clerk of the works have the authority to not put in fire suppression? And you said yes.
I don't believe it did.
Well, maybe you need to check up on YouTube. Unless you could, do you remember that?
Remember, the question was asked, but no, he came in and presented it. I didn't know about it until Friday before, that wasn't gonna take place. Did he make the decision? I wasn't comfortable with it, but I didn't have the presentation. I didn't get here till late Monday. So whether or not he made the decision, I don't think he made the decision. I think that came from the board at the board meeting, when they brought it before.
The board made a decision not to.
I don't know what was presented to the board.
I wish you present comments that you know are factual. I mean, it's confusing to hear one selectman say, no, we're really not considering fire suppression. We may look at options that develop, and you say, yes, we are looking at fire suppression.
Yeah, this has been discussed. We discussed some of it, that there's other options. And there's always an option. When it gets there, I mean, you can get change orders and change anything in a building. The basic building is coming, it's a shell. The subcontractors, we can talk to them and find a way to sharpen the pencil and maybe get us a fire suppression.
I don't even think this discussion would be taking place if people didn't come in and express their concern.
Oh, we're taking place.
I didn't hear a single concern addressed to the clerk of the works when he made his presentation from the board about fire suppression.
I wasn't here for that meeting.
Oh, okay.
So
You've got to pass on that.
I wasn't here. I got here late.
I'm talking to the board collectively, whether you're here or not, still the board of selectmen. Did anyone know, and this person's being paid by the town, right, the clerk of the works, so he's representing the town. When was it known? Was it known before the deliberative session that we weren't going to have fire suppression?
No.
Oh, so was it known before the vote that we weren't going to have fire suppression?
As I said, I got called the Friday before in the afternoon to have a meeting about the building. I didn't know what it was until sometime during the day, or either on Monday or Monday morning.
I don't want to belabor the point, I get into a lot of detail, but it just doesn't hold water, because those drawings, the contract was signed with this contractor back in September. The drawings had to have been started fairly quickly. I would think that the drawings would have been done before the Friday, before he made the presentation. I mean, months. I just want to know, did the clerk of the works come into you and say that there's not going to be any fire suppression? You mentioned Saturday, you mentioned a Friday. That's days before the presentation.
And that's true, Dick. The reason that he spoke to my buddy here and myself, getting old.
Yeah, I know what it's like.
Yeah, don't we all? Well, not everybody, but we were both on the committee to begin this project. So he wanted to give us a heads up before he came in. But just to back up a little bit, the term here, don't shoot the messenger. This, the person serving as clerk of the works isn't the one who made that decision. It was the whole construction team who sharpened their pencils over and over again and came up with alternatives that didn't have that financially fitting into the plan. you know, all the flack is falling on the person who came into the board. I absolutely agree with, we should have known about this earlier and not at the last minute. I absolutely agree with that, but it doesn't all fall on that one person's shoulders.
I'm not trying to make, I'm not,
No,
I'm
and I
not
don't
insinuating
mean just
that
you,
that's the
but
person's
it's just that
responsibility.
That's kind of been the message here tonight, and it really.
But the clerk of the works is the person that should be in contact with the architect or whoever's putting it. Did somebody make a statement to them that somebody had to say at some point in time, I would hope you would agree, gee, we can't put fire suppression in this building. Now, I'm not saying it was the clerk of the works, I'm not saying it was you, but the contract, it wasn't the contractor given a set of specifications? Fire suppression. I mean, politically, fire suppression's gotta be number one. You know, in terms of all this other technical issues, in terms of R values and thickness of the rails for the garage door, you know, all I know is if I want to turn my radio, plug my radio when I plug it into the outlet, not into the faucet. But, you know, when it comes to a lot of the technical issues here, I can't even go there. And that's for somebody else to resolve. But when it comes to a political statement that was made to the voters that there will be fire suppression, I would think that somebody would have said to that contractor, listen, here's the building, it's gotta have fire suppression. And somebody should have said, whoa, wait a minute, we can't. And this isn't a week before the presentation, this has to go back months. So there's a management issue here, and it is a big contract for the town, and it's a very important contract for the town. We've got a lot of equipment that's going to be in that building, and it's got to be protected. And I believe it would have failed if it didn't have if it wasn't said that it had fire suppression. That's all I got to say about that building. I do have about two other questions. One is on the noise ordinance, which was really dealing with backyard firing ranges and fireworks. And I know how some people on the committee feel, and I don't disagree with them. But there's a point in time where you go to the extreme, you know? And I think I witnessed it, unfortunately, Sunday, went from noon, 11:30, to 5:30 at night, continuous fire from 3 different ranges, and which obviously I could hear. One of them was very close. And it was automatic fire. Now, I don't know if some of these people have a license, but 2 of the locations, it was automatic fire. But it was continuous, and it was very disturbing. It was kind of disturbing the peace, in my estimation. I think it was too much. It's extreme. And I think basically, because nothing's been done, you've kind of empowered people to go ahead and do this, my sense. One cropped up last year. You know, and it's going to be another one. You know, I certainly respect people's rights to bear arms, but, you know, when it comes to shooting arms, you know, I think you should be tolerant of your neighbors. I'm in a fairly densely populated area. A lot of people are affected by it. And the fact that people aren't coming in here, well, you did get a complaint. I think they don't want to get involved. They would rather see something put in place, like an ordinance, so they don't have to. Because I think it's going to get worse, and I think it's going to be a long, hot summer for a lot of people. And this is the 3rd year. And I heard what I guess is the chairman of that committee come in a few weeks ago and say, we're going to have our last meeting. So what's the status of that committee? And in addition to that, one other sub-question. Last November, I believe it was, during the primary election, one of the elections, there was a booth that they set up and asked, and took a survey, and you had to fill out a question regarding firearms, basically. I think it might have been fireworks included. This is your committee, by the way, committee that this board set up, that wasn't interviewed. No one was interviewed. Do you know what the results of that survey are? Because I haven't seen them anywhere. They haven't been mentioned, they're not on the website, they're not in the minutes. Last set of minutes from that committee was in November, I believe, of last year. So what's the results of the survey? You don't know. And you should know, because it's your committee. And the other one was the feasibility study for the gun range. There were 2 meetings last year. That's it. No meetings since. What's going on with that? I mean, it gets back to another question that was asked earlier about shouldn't be somebody tracking minutes? What's going on? I just don't see it being managed, or a lack of organization. And you know how many people were impacted by this firing range, people for and against. I mean, you had 2 public hearings. And I don't think you're any closer today than you were 3 years ago. So what is the committee going to do with those 2 subcommittees?
Right now, I don't believe the firing range committee is even active.
Well, the last meeting, I think, was October of last year.
Yeah.
They had 2 meetings last year, that was it.
They had more than that, but
Well, they may have, Jack, but where are they?
that's a good question. A prior board member was the one that oversaw that. And the chairman of the noise committee also was on that committee, and I think Mr. McDowell was on both of those also.
You want the stats? I've got them burned into my brain. I'll be happy to give them to you.
No,
I thought they were brought into us before, but I don't.
Why do we have to come in here and ask the question, and somebody in the back of the room says, I got them right here, they're in my back pocket? Why don't you provide that information to the people that filled out those questionnaires? Why don't you provide that information to the people that were concerned about the noise level? Why isn't the board addressing this? That's all I've got to say.
Frank Campana. I didn't elect to be last. I have a couple of questions, and I appreciate if you don't have the answers, that's fine. I'm sure the answers can get back to me. And they center around the clerk of the works. I don't know how a clerk of the works, time is put in. Is it, does that person stay on the job every day of the week for how long they work? Like, an 8-hour day? I just don't know. So I'd like to know that, because I had heard rumors of the dollar amount that he's getting paid, and I based my total, what he was gonna get totally paid on 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and, from now till the end of October, 6 months. So I don't know how that works, or how he operates. And the other thing, it was brought out in I think probably Tom, maybe Jack might have addressed it a little bit. What authority does the clerk of the works have if the contractor, for example, comes in and says, well, we can't do fire suppression, and I was here for that meeting several weeks ago when Mr. Fillmore was here and presented that, no fire suppression, firewall to the board, and it caught most of you by surprise. What authority does the clerk of the works have to authorize those types of changes without, especially something like the fire suppression, without input from the board, not response from the board, but input from the board? That's a question. And Tom, you mentioned a couple of times tonight, and quite honestly, I had the same thoughts in regards to fire suppression, to try to get fire suppression back into the building. Maybe cut something here and there. I thought that sounded very reasonable, and I have I have a suggestion where to cut, and again, I'm not speaking from experience, but find a different means of heat. Get away from the radiant heat. See what other option is out there. And the reason I say that is it was in response to some questions last week. The board responded, this subcommittee, they went to one town that had radiant heat, and they liked it. They went to another town that had radiant heat in the floor, and they didn't like it. Well, I guess me as a simple person, if I wanted input from one town and another, or on an issue, one says one thing, and they're comparing apples to apples, and they say another thing, I think I'd want a tiebreaker. You know, go to another town, you know, that has radiant heat, or go to another town that has a different kind of heat. You know, it sounds like, you know, the answer to go to, the option to go to radiant heat was very short-sighted. Like I say, there's no tiebreaker there. And I don't feel that, I'd like to have my money spent a little bit more wisely to get a final opinion. You know, why one likes it, why one doesn't like it, and that. So that's all I have. You know, certainly as far as the hours the person works and what authority, maybe, you know, I could call Naomi, you know, in a few days, or, you know, Nick, I don't need the answer, you know, probably this week, but I would say she may be. I'm not trying to volunteer you, Naomi. Or maybe it can be addressed at a board meeting. That's all I have. Thanks.
Are we all set on public comment?
The question on the DPW building, is the paving excluded at this time with budget constraints? Did they leave that off? I would imagine they would if there were. Does anyone know that?
I believe it is, because he can include it in his paving bid. He can include it another time in his paving bid, whether it's this year or next year. It could be part of the paving process.
Okay. Yeah, there again, some quick calculations on the clerk of the works pay rate. It's $3,400 a week if you worked a 40-hour week. You know, if there's a continuous pour or something, you're gonna work overtime. You know, times 29 available weeks, it's $98,000. That's a good chunk of pay for 29 weeks. And in regard to what Mr. Butt was just talking about, as far as this is what I heard. I went to a meeting Wednesday before last. It was supposedly no one was going to be there because the committee was dissolved, but I went there and sure enough people showed up to go to this meeting. So we asked the clerk of the works about the final decision to eliminate the fire suppression. When I asked the clerk of the works about contacting Tom Clow and Jack Meany, the clerk of the works response was he spoke to Tom Clow only, but when confronted, I said, well, on Channel 6, you know, there's something else mentioned. It says Channel 6 broadcast with Tom Clow and Jack Meany saying that they were both contacted on a Saturday, as they both said they only had a 2-day notification that was given to them. Then the clerk of the works was asked when he knew the fire suppression was eliminated. The clerk of the works said he knew in advance 1 month prior. Then the question was asked to the clerk of the works, why would he wait until Saturday, 2 days before a public meeting, to address 2 selectmen and order the building on a Monday? I just don't see this. It's and to only give 2 selectmen the details on a Saturday on month-old news, and to order the building the following Monday with a presentation at the selectmen's meeting that Monday night. And then, Tom, there again, you say that the building was ordered the next day. So there's just so much rift in this whole thing. It's just rife with controversy. Like Frank says, it hasn't broken ground yet, and it's just full of holes.
Just on my meeting with the clerk of the works, it was just a courtesy on his part, because I believe he met with you too.
He called me. It might have been Saturday. I can't remember because I was out of town, and he got a hold of me by phone. I got a message. I called him back, and I told him I couldn't meet with him because I was out of town, and that was it. And I was gonna try and catch up with him Monday before the meeting, because he had something to talk, and I assumed he talked to the whole board. I didn't know until later on Monday. I didn't get here till late because of work.
No, I understood
So-
that because I heard the meeting.
Yeah, so
And,
I didn't know what was going on till after I got here to the meeting and then found out, so.
And I guess a question for you, Tom. When you addressed Eldon Towns' concern about would you eliminate a safety factor or add more volume of space? You told him, but there's gonna be 4 trucks left outside. And Eldon said, I'd be okay with that because I would take safety over space any day. But you said at that time that a decision was made. So are you saying the clerk of the works and the contractor made that decision?
I am saying that, yes.
But isn't the contractor, they read the full contract, that says, these are particulars, and I'll go back to what Chairman Lacasse said. When you build a building of this type, he was explaining to you guys about how this process worked. He said you would build the building, and then you would not eliminate any safety fundamentals. If there was a budget constraint, the footprint got smaller, but you didn't reduce no safety features, but you reduced the actual footage of the building. So I guess when did you know about that? What date and time?
Exactly the same date and time that we just talked about.
That Saturday?
Yeah. That's the only... I'm not, again...
I'm not debating with you, Tom. I'm just,
and I'm not debating with you. I'm just saying that, I'm not thrilled about this timeline. No more than anybody else is.
I'm not thrilled about the expense. I didn't vote for it, but guess what? I own it. And I own it because when the whole thing burns down, 1/3, all of our trucks will receive... Naomi, do you know if the trucks are insured for actual cash value?
I don't.
Or replacement value?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a 13-year-old fleet, what in the hell do you think you're going to get for 13 trucks that are 13 years old? You're going to get pretty much Zippo. And you're going to replace all that? So that all goes on the burden of the taxpayers. Am I correct in saying that? Yes or no? You're going to replace a fleet. Who's going to pay for it? That's all I'm trying to say. And like I said, myself, I'm okay. I made a proposal of a firewall to split it up into thirds. And like I said, I think if people would rather probably see 1/3 of the building, nobody's going to give you $200,000 next year or the year after that. I just know that because people are just intense. They're just wound up about this thing. And like I said, the only person you're hurting is Benji because he's not going to be able to renew his fleet. It's going to go stagnant. People aren't going to vote for any more new stuff because they'll think he's part of the whole clique. It's just horrible. And like I said, I got to disagree with you about how many of you will meet for this next meeting in conjunction with this. The 3 of you, or
I think
We're just gonna post it,
decided
we
that
said.
we'd just
Yeah.
post it,
Post it for
that
regular
We said we'd post
if
it.
any other people want, any other board members want to
Okay.
come.
and when is the next meeting?
What are you
for the
talking
building
about?
committee?
What-
Wednesday, I assume? Is that a regular date? Naomi?
No, we stuck with every other Wednesday, and then we skipped to we skipped till, because it was surgery for somebody, and, it wasn't a constant every other Wednesday. That's what we tried to stick to, but that's not really what got stuck to. Because the Wednesday that you guys all showed up was really not a meeting night if you stuck to the every other week. Because that shouldn't have happened that week. It was because somebody had something else going on.
Okay, so I guess could we see a little more speed put on this? I know you got a timeline, but I don't know when the building's are they gonna rip down the old building? But
It's partially down now. The roof's off part of it. It's coming down this week.
Okay, and the other thing too is, on the town hall projects, and I guess this is yours, Naomi, is there anything for projects on the town hall, the gazebo, a bid list of any sort to do work for the town?
Not, well, there's people that have asked to be on the contractors list, which we reached out to. Then, and now I have Greg's, is it Greg? Yeah, now I can.
And how, I guess, I gotta ask this too. Do you put out a bid over the internet or in a paper? How is that process taking place?
Depends, Tim, on the size of the project. If it's say $1,000, if it's under $1,000, we can go find a person, like, okay, we need to have a sink put in at the town hall. Then we have the authority to hire a person to go in and put the sink in at the town hall because it's a minor project. If it's over $1,000, then we have to get 3 estimates. If it's over $5,000, then we have to advertise it and get 3 bids. So that's the 3 levels of purchase as defined in our purchasing policy.
But isn't it a matter of fact, and Mrs. Brown made this statement, of getting more people in on a bid to get better work, more of a selection? Can't we put this thing in a newspaper like any other town?
We do. If it's a bid.
If it's a formal bid, it goes.
But I know, but even this $1,000 deal, it should be going out, not just calling people that we know. Spread it out. Put it on the internet. Put it on the town website about the job. Why can't that work?
I'm not arguing on that.
Okay.
That's fine, but each time we put something in a newspaper, it is costly. And so
it's costly to have the job done twice too.
Put out every $1,000 project for estimates in the newspaper, and it costs us an extra $200 just to advertise it. I mean, that's a legitimate cost.
What about cable TV?
Not everybody has cable.
Yeah.
You have to
And
put
we
it
have our
in something.
website.
And you've lost your daily circulation other than the Concord Martin and Union Leader. You've lost your Goffstown News. It's not daily. You can put it in the Messenger if you can think a month ahead, because that's only on Fridays. I'm just, I get it with the internet, I get that. But I have to be quite honest with you, pick up the phone to even get a quote, there's a lot of people that don't want to work for the town.
Why is that?
I don't know why. I can't get that answer because I've asked and asked, and I picked local contractors to come at least give me a price and give me some sort of spec, and I can't even get someone to meet me. So, we talked about the cruiser going out of state. I tried to pick local people that we use, and when they're either busy and not interested, I get it. But
Well, my concern, there was talk of you couldn't get a hold of the contractor at the time. Everybody's booked out. And I called, I reached out to 3 people. And one guy says, yeah, I'm kind of busy, but I can take a look at it next week. I called another guy. He says, I can look at it. But everybody's saying that there's no contractors available. That's why I brought one to the table. I think the jobs ought to be advertised a different way.
You're suggesting
So can you
go in the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Naomi, can you rehash the paving again? That they're not going to pave?
I haven't talked to Benji. I didn't see him today. Today's my first day back. He doesn't work Mondays. We've talked about, because we can pave and put it as part of the bid. It didn't get in this year's bid, no. But if there's some extra money left, he probably could pave there, but I'm not sure if it's this year or next year.
Funding out of
the road reconstruction
the 1.36,
money. No.
No. So this in the article that Tom writes, he says the Community News. Huh?
When we had a newspaper.
Yeah. But it exclusively tells you, and I addressed this very question to Tom, February 29th of 2016. It was noted there is an additional cost of $184,000 for outside work. which includes a well, a septic system, a cistern and pump for the sprinkler system, and paving. So what gives, Tom? You know, it's written right there.
That was the report of the committee that developed it. That isn't something that I was making up. That's not from me. That was what was included in the plan.
2016.
In 2016, right. And that's the whole point of the dissension here, is because it didn't come in cost-wise the way that we assumed back then that it would.
Well, I got a good
So
one
we
for you,
did-
Tom.
We priced out the building, and again, I'm talking as one person on this committee. We priced out the building at X number of dollars per square foot. And included in that was supposed to be, for example, when we're talking about the fire suppression system, that was the interior portion, the piping and such, was supposed to be included in that per square foot. The reason we felt it would be, again, we were looking at the Henniker building, and when their per square foot cost included the interior piping for the sprinkler system. But they didn't need that outside stuff because they were a public water system. So they didn't need a cistern or a pump or anything, okay? So we had to look at it. Okay, where is it going to, what's it gonna cost to put a cistern in and a pump and a generator of the right capacity to run it if the electricity's out? And that's where that money was coming from. And anything like on the outside, like including the pavement, that was the estimate at the time, in addition to the per square foot for the building. So all I can say is I was reporting, as a reporter, what the committee had included in their report. So, you know, that's what it was, and that was the plan. And, it, you know, if all the pieces as far as the coin had fallen into place, that's what it would be. But it, you know, this group with the contractors has been working on this since last October, I believe. And
I appreciate that.
sharpening their pencils and trying to fit it all in, and it didn't fit. So, you know, that's why there wasn't anything meant to be deceitful in that newspaper article. It was simply an article like any other reporter would have done on what the plan was that the committee had come up with.
But the reporter wanted to select them, Tom. That's where it reflects bad upon the board.
Well, I don't see that. I'm sorry. I'm arguing personally with you now because I'm trying to.
I'm speaking to you.
I'm trying to use the
Parliamentary
library
procedure.
I'm trying to use the library newsletter that they're putting out, which I think is a wonderful thing for our new director to do. And I try to put an article that's related to some town project in there every week. And I get the information from the person related to it, like the road paving. I sat down and talked to Benji and did an article on it. Now, I think that's a public service, has nothing to do with sitting here. The same as that, totally different. It's a reporter reporting objectively.
Reporter of the Selectmen's office.
Well, we won't communicate. I mean, I'm not trying to be a
Well,
wise guy,
it's
but
kind of
come
we're
on.
at that junction now. So how, in the clerk of the works, that must be have to fitting into the final number, the whole number of the 1.36 million? You guys had to have budgeted for that because you're all smart people. You're gonna put a figure together and not to exceed. Am I correct in saying that? You're not just gonna give this guy an open-ended check.
In the overall umbrella of per square foot, you're including all of your subcontractors, which in this case I believe would include the clerk of the works. So I don't, this planning committee didn't sit down and say we're gonna have this much for the plumbing, this much for the
Where did you
electric,
get
this
that?
much for the clerk of the works.
I
That's
haven't seen it.
part of the total cost in that per square footage. So we didn't talk, we didn't, as a committee, we never said, okay, it's gonna, let's set aside $20,000, whatever, for clerk of the works. it had to be taken out of the total cost. Okay. And again, I'm telling you what wasn't discussed, because we did not specify it. It's up to the, well, not the clerk of the works, but everything else.
Where would his payment end up coming out from then?
Come out of the total budget.
The budget for the building,
You know,
Tom?
Tim, I'm really talking off the top of my head, and it's not doing either one of us any good, because all I'm trying to do is explain it as I see it. I'm not explaining using any facts, because I don't have them, okay? And I apologize for that, but if we go back to that original committee that consisted of a lot of different people, myself being one of them, we did not say, okay, we're gonna put this much in for clerk of the works. It was considered as part of the total cost of the project, the same as the other subcontractors within it. You know, as far as the subcontractor, it was up to the contractor to go out and get those figures and try to make them all fit. But, you know, again, I'm just talking on and on about something that I have limited facts to talk on. All I can tell you is, this is the planning committee, this is what we came up with for the price. We couldn't get what we wanted for the price. That's what it all comes down to. And now, if we can go back and somehow eliminate something that's there in order to come up with at least some of the money toward the fire.
Well, might I recommend that the GC, they could probably pick out a third party to review in lieu of your present pick, as far as clerk of the works? That might be a cheaper, if you don't know what the end figure is, it's really not much sense of me being here, but.
We've heard a lot of input, and, you know, it's for us now to take that input and try to, you know, we're not gonna satisfy everybody, but to use it in our discussions as far as, you know, a lot of issues. Whether we, I just feel like we're talking about somebody who,
I'm not bad-mouthing anybody, but I'm just. And can I ask this? What credentials does he have? Has he ever handled a commercial job before? Is he acting as an agent of the town? If he, well, here's where it gets thick and greasy.
No, I'm not gonna talk.
No, I'm talking, Tom. I get the floor.
Anymore. I'm not gonna talk about the and I'm not gonna answer. Okay, we've got your input, and we'll follow up as best we can. If you have something else to say, we'll put it in the minutes, and we'll use that.
Okay, I do have something else to say.
Okay.
So it's like this. Is he under the town's umbrella for insurance, workers' comp? Is he a town employee? Is he the acting agent?
If you'll write it down, we'll.
Okay.
He's a vendor. He is a vendor, that's what I was told.
No, excuse me, if he's a vendor, he's gonna have insurance. You told me this on February 29th of 2016, this very item, that all your town vendors would have insurance. But, come on, guys, let's get this thing together.
Thank you for your input, and we'll have it on record. I don't want to shut anybody off, but I would like to move on, but if somebody hasn't spoken and you'd like to, certainly you're welcome.
I think everybody's.
In that case, then I'm going to close off public comments so that we can move on with our next agenda item.
I have a couple of things to say on the subject. I'm not a surveyor, so I don't really know what the date means on the side when it says date and then it says revisions. Is that the date there? Is that the date that you get the final one?
Or if it says final.
I never looked at this date, but I went and got this from Benji. I never looked at this date, This is the drawing that has the firewall and the wash curtain. The date on this is January 2017.
Looky.
I was so interested in the size of the doors because of the concern of a foot to a foot and a half of them having to back up way back into the building. I was so concerned about that. I never noticed this until Dick was talking about dates, but it does say January. I can't read the second, the actual date, but it's 2017. So why were we just finding out about any of this now? And then,
Well, this was their plan.
yeah, it was their plan,
Again.
but it's a firewall.
There
Where's
was a
the
firewall,
suppression?
there was a firewall originally in the original building. It was talking about putting a second firewall. And that's the original firewall that's been in the original plan from the get-go.
You would have a firewall with the suppression system?
Yes.
See, it has.
It separates the work,
There's your-
the office space.
There's your tank, your tank, what do you call it?
Cistern.
I understand that,
Here's
but
the generator and so forth, so at this point in time, that was all on the plan.
They put the firewall in to keep the square footage down.
so they didn't need the suppression system?
No.
They didn't need the suppression.
Yes.
That's exactly.
That was
No.
exactly what was
No,
said.
that was the firewall between the office
I know
space
there
and the
was
other
one.
part. And that's the one that's on that plan, that's the original
Oh,
plan.
okay.
From January, that was the original plan. That's not the additional one that they're doing to try and get around the suppression system.
So they didn't need to do anything else in order to just eliminate the suppression system?
Is
They
it
just-
still
No.
public comment?
No, it's closed. Public comment's closed. I said that a few minutes ago, and if we want to discuss this among the board, we'll discuss it among the board. So, and really, we need more discussion among the board, because we've got all public comment and no board discussion. That seems to be the way it's gone for the last couple of weeks.
Well, I went back and I made some notes because Helene had asked some questions last week about.
So are you talking to the board now?
Yes, well,
Okay.
well, I'm talking to them as well, because I think it's information that the public needs to know. On September 12th, the board met, and that was when the final contract was done. On September 19th of 2016, the initial meeting will be, this was the reports, which I think were great, because you can go back and see some of this information when Naomi gave reports to the board as to what was going on in the building and everything. Okay. So initial meeting will be next week with the committee and the contractor. So contractor's chosen, now he's gonna be meeting with the committee. September 26th, the committee and contractor met this morning. Surveying will start soon. Meetings will be weekly. DPW Clerk of Works will be discussed in non-public. At the end of the meeting, the board discussed under A and C the Clerk of the Works. The minutes aren't sealed, I'd like to be able to see them. Number one. October 3rd, 2016. Meetings will be held Wednesdays at 4:30. And then last week, the selectmen met in non-public session to discuss Bruce Fillmore, member of DPW Garage Committee, will stay on as Clerk of the Works as the town's representative. The cost will be forthcoming. Now, from that date until April 10th, when Bruce Fillmore came in here, there's no updates from anyone relative in the minutes. I've gone through, I've combed them. There's not one update as to what transpired in any of the meetings. So I don't know how we're gonna have the information. So there's nothing in any reports. Yeah, I had the same thing as how many hours has he got anticipated working. If his, I don't know how he can get paid when all of a sudden, I mean, his costs will be forthcoming. That means, I don't know, has Julie ever discussed the cost of what he was gonna get? Until the bill came in for $85 an hour.
Somebody like him.
I guess, you know, and I didn't think either, because I put it, when you were talking the $105 a square foot, I think that was the cost of the building up in Henniker. I don't know if any clerk of the works cost was figured in there.
I can't answer that. I have to go up and ask them in Henniker, but the point was, did we have a specific line for clerk of the works, and we didn't. The planning committee that came up with the plan for this, no, we did not say, okay, X number of dollars for clerk of the works. We had the building, and we had that exterior material like the cistern, the paving, the pump for the cistern to work as fire suppression system, et cetera. I don't know exactly what else was in there, but that's, I think that was all part of the presentation.
I guess that answers, you know, the questions that I had.
Anybody else on this issue tonight?
Can I add something to my note, Naomi? A question? There may be a critical error in the mechanics bay. You have a full-length drainage that goes all the way across. Does anyone know where the actual tank will end up? Because here's the scenario. You have a welding area, and then right next to that is a full-line grate that goes under the firewall. And now, for example, if someone's changing a fuel tank, a gas tank, a diesel tank, whatever, say something falls off the jack, so the fuel tank falls off a floor jack, and it starts going on the floor. So you have a welding area on the other side, and Murphy's Law, things are going to happen. So the mechanic's going to probably freak out, drop his drop cord, start a fire, but meanwhile all that raw fuel or solvent would run through that grate right into the other side of the building. And you want to see this? You want to see the drawing?
Yeah. Again, it's a good contractor question.
Yeah.
I can't answer that.
Because I would like the whole place up like a Roman candle.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Good question.
Yeah.
Depending where the drain is.
Well, maybe we give a prize for the
Yeah.
biggest highway department fire in the area. That would be a dubious honor.
In the correspondence, we have a concern with Bork Road. Is it called Burke or is it Bork?
Both. Sorry for the handwriting.
Yeah. And, you know, we'll have to pass this on to our highway supervisor Benji, but also, and this is not a commitment, but we did find that we're going to have a bonus as far as highway construction funds, because the legislature approved a bill that would increase highway reconstruction funds by something like 85%.
Wow.
Coming out of a surplus at the end of this state fiscal year. So I don't know what that would amount, if it's a simple calculation, and we're getting $230,000 from the state now, and I'm probably wrong on this, but 85% increase would give us another $200,000 to work with.
That better be used on the roads, though.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what this is.
It has to be.
No, because this is used on the road.
Has that passed?
That would be that.
It did pass. It passed on the 4th, I believe, May 4th.
When?
I think on May 4th. It was in the Municipal Association's bulletin.
Since this is my complaint, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's great about the
Wendy, you probably should go to the microphone, sorry.
I mean, we have everything in writing here, your concern, and, you know, the only thing we can do is we could talk to the highway person about it, and
I can definitely do that. I was told that this is what I had to do, so I wanted to do that. But then in all of this discussion with the building, I'll just call it the building, you were talking about the paving, and that it could come out of the road reconstruction fund. If my road's not gonna get paved, I'll be damned if you're gonna take money out of that fund to go and do something that should have been budgeted for. That is not gonna be sitting well with anybody at all.
You know, the board hasn't had any discussion about that. It was a comment that
Well,
was sent out.
yeah, there was a comment though, and
Yeah, it was.
that really set me off because my road is absolutely terrible. Browns can't even bring us dirt because it flies out of their dump truck. Ambulances have an issue. We had a kid, his bike tire got stuck in the road because it was so bad. So, like I said in my complaint, I challenge you to show me a word that's worse than Bogue Road and Mountain Road.
Unfortunately, and I don't know because I haven't looked at your road.
I think you should go on a field trip.
Yeah, I will. I do that a lot.
It's really dangerous.
Yeah, there are so many.
There's nothing, I will guarantee you there is not one like my road.
Okay.
I will guarantee you.
Number one.
Number one,
I will
pothole
call
heaven.
Benji. And nothing will probably get done, but
I think you have to talk to your road agent.
That needs some serious
And we
digging.
have a trustworthy road agent.
It's serious stuff.
I don't think that.
yeah, I think, I really do. You will be surprised. If you make it out of there without any damage to your car, let me know. Boom.
Bogue Road.
We've lost trucks, plow trucks.
It's one way,
We're still-
yeah.
Mountain Road.
One way in,
It's
one way out.
awful.
Is that where that truck went?
Yeah.
It only took a year for them to take the sign down.
You got swallowed up.
Yeah. I've been up there, it's not in good shape at all.
Anyone else have correspondence?
Well, the only thing, I just had a gentleman come in this morning, but it goes to what Dick said. He evidently, did we read something? I haven't seen the complaint. There was a complaint that he brought in regards to firing over in the Burnt Hill Road area. And he said this Sunday, it was again 7:30 this morning. It was similar to what Dick said, and I heard the same thing Dick did for hours.
I read that, I believe, into the minutes for last week.
Okay, I haven't seen a copy of it, that's all I asked. So I really couldn't address him.
I read it, I don't know, did you look at the minutes?
There was,
You need to acknowledge it. I don't know if you read it in the minutes.
We have to,
there was some shooting over the
we have to,
fishing
and we can do this tonight under other business, have a discussion of where these two committees are going. Because,
I just, if there was a complaint, so I had his name, I don't even know who it was.
I mean, there are different opinions on the board as far as the shooting range issue. And there was one person on the board who was sort of driving that issue. And we haven't had a discussion, are we gonna continue that committee or not? We haven't had that discussion since the elections. And the noise ordinance committee, I mean, what I'd like to see personally, put something out and let the voters vote on it. We had that going on the ballot 2 years ago, I believe, and it was changed to create a committee. And so we created the committee, and now we haven't gotten a product from that committee. But it would be better to either put it to rest one way or the other. Let's put out some kind of a reasonable ordinance proposal, and then people either say, oh, we don't want that, I'm voting no, fine, or yes, we do want that, we're voting yes, and we have it. But to let it linger out there like this is not fair to anyone. But, again, I'm one person talking too much tonight.
It's your job.
Yeah.
That's what you get. Good luck.
We pay you for
It's a difficult job to sit there and, I think everyone appreciates that, but it's a difficult job that you have.
Thank you.
John, would you like the results of the survey we did at the November elections? I was on man in that table.
Yeah, why don't you, if you could get them to Naomi.
I can give them to you right now, all of you, and everybody in here. Either there was 6,000 people something that voted, with 270 people that responded. Of that 270, 170 said no, and about 100 said yes. Those are the stats.
Yes, what was the question?
On the noise ordinance.
What was the question though?
But what was the
Okay,
question?
we made up little like index cards.
Yep.
We had, what area of town do you live in? Center, East Ware, North Ware, South Ware, blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
Clinton Grove, Lake Shore, that kind of thing, or Forest Lake.
yeah.
And do you have noise ordinance, do you have noise problems, yes or no? And if so, what are they? We get trucks, motorcycles, shooting, explosions with that tannerite, those kind of things. And of the total there was 270 people responded. Took the time to actually sit down, and the line was out the door and down the sidewalk. So there wasn't an issue of, well, they didn't want to lose their slot in line waiting to go in and vote. Your wife was running that thing, Jack. You know, bring
But
it
how do,
back.
can
People
I,
had-
not to be, how do you get yes or no out of all those questions?
At the bottom, was there an actual
Was
yes or
there
no
an
question?
answer, an overall question? You said there was about this many for yes, this many for no, but there was several questions.
Yeah, I think what we need is that.
We
Yeah, I
need
need
that
to
talent
have-
sheet.
Breakdown of it.
Makes-
And if you have a spare card, that'd be good.
And
That
then
way
we
that we can
probably should
compare.
have, for each of these committees, and again, just my opinion is, should have the committees come in and say, okay, where are you at with this?
Mhm. I believe Lori's the chairperson
Sure,
of
I
the
think
noise.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think Keith is of the feasibility.
Keith was for the rifle range.
Well, he was a selectman advisor. There was no chair.
But we probably ought to go a little further with the highway garage before we get involved with firing ranges and noise ordinance.
I agree.
People bringing guns in, Tom.
Then I really will have to borrow that flak vest. Okay.
You have some.
No, it was just that one, I don't know what his name
Board
was. or
members,
anything.
you agree with that, we'll get these committees in to see.
Yeah.
where
Yeah. I think the noise committee is about wrapped up. I was talking to one of the members, but I don't want to make an official statement on it. So,
What?
I heard that the noise committee is about wrapped up, but I don't want to make an official statement on it.
I have something else out of other business. I met with the principals over at the middle school,
Okay.
Sean Hilliard and Mark. I'm in my legal mind. Only the-
Mark Willis.
Mark Willis,
Okay.
not Mark Roth.
Right.
Yeah.
And we came up with what we hope can be the final draft.
Of the skate park.
Yeah, and Naomi, if you could give me Karen's email.
Mhm.
I have this electronically, and I could forward it to her, because they have a Parks and Recs meeting tomorrow night. But this is the,
It's follow the same suit of everybody here. First initial, last name. At
Oh,
weare.nh.gov. It
okay.
gets forwarded to her work email.
She has a full.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give out her work email.
No, it's fine.
Yep.
And this is basically everything that we went over at the.
yeah, you'll notice on here that it eliminates all reference to the other playground, because
Right.
that's under their
It's under
supervision.
school anyways.
Doesn't belong
Right. And the purpose is on there.
It also eliminates any age limits, although the people at the school would prefer to see that stay in.
Mhm.
In this draft, it doesn't exist. That's probably the one disagreement that we had, and a sticking point, because, and I understand where they're coming from with it, but other people, I guess including Parks and Rec, like, and on the way out, we were talking, and I think other people who were at that meeting were in favor of not having an age limit.
Right.
Because, you know, you have parents bringing kids perhaps.
Right. Or parents trying to teach their kids.
They didn't want this last one.
The last one, they, in the original, why don't we just walk through it? Just, anybody have any questions? Number one, any questions on that? 2? 3, we just altered the original to say, or accompanied by a visitor accompanied by a Weare resident. And number 4, I don't think that changed. Number 5, just a continuation really of the maintenance. Number 6, we combined, they had 2 things concerning trash, we combined it into one. when the school's responsible, when the town's responsible. Number 7, signage. 8, we eliminated their reference to perhaps buying another video because they can do it in camera, because they can do it anyways. They don't really need to put that in this agreement.
And they just got a new camera that covers that, that's even
Yeah.
sharper than the old one.
Nine's well written.
Yeah.
That came out good.
Yeah, 11 seems pretty straightforward.
Right. Now, the difference with 12 is that this is more open-ended.
Yeah, it was pretty to the point before.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it basically
5
said
years
move it in
off.
5 years.
Yeah,
This
off.
just says that,
Yeah.
Consideration.
consider it all the location.
Right.
So are we good with this?
I'm good with it.
Okay, we go to Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
and then, I guess we need approval from this board as well as from the school board once it's done. But, the administrators over there are okay with this,
Okay.
except that one sticking point, they'd prefer to see an H.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
Right, but
you know, that's kind of
it,
tough
yeah,
on weekends and, you
Yeah.
know, and, when school's closed in the summer.
right. It is a town park, so.
Yeah.
There's so little there, I can't see it exactly too many holders.
No. I've seen most of them in Hopkinton. Yeah.
I've been
You
by,
see some old-
I went by several, I mean, there's a really, really nice one, where were we?
Hopkins got one of the nicest ones I've seen.
In the
No,
local
there was
area.
one even bigger than that,
That's gonna be big.
is it Newport?
Hampton?
Andover, Warner. I don't know. We made a covered bridge run, so I can't remember. It was one of those towns. But it wasn't really, and not a soul was there. We went by Hopkins yesterday, not a soul was on it.
Right.
You know, and they're much bigger than,
This one.
that one's like this table size to everything
Compared to the
else.
other ones, yeah.
And there wasn't anybody there.
Yeah, you know, there are less kids doing it now.
Oh, yeah, there's.
I think once you reach the driving age, you don't
At
anyway.
times there's people in and out,
Well, I think what's now with those hoverboards that burn up.
Yeah.
Those things that you just ride around on.
Right.
Those things that you plug in to charge that are burning
Yeah,
down
they don't
homes.
go up the
That's the
hills real
newest
good.
craze.
And they don't go
Yeah.
up the hills real well, but they, you know, it's spotty. You know, most of the time, you start seeing them more, and it's usually the.
Yeah, I mean, I
bubble
think
starts
it's,
at night.
Oh, absolutely.
Once
Yeah.
the sun goes down is when they're.
and you're gonna see more through the summer for
Yeah,
something
then
to
you see 'em
do.
in the summer.
Yeah,
Better weather. We haven't really had any good weather to really justify.
You're not gonna have any all week either.
To justify people, you know.
not gonna have many for another 10 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Wonderful.
Are we gonna put the bids out for the town hall doors?
Yeah, that was a question I had. How are we doing with the doors? Hanging up the doors, I should say.
Yeah, it's just hanging there is right, because I haven't had the time to do it, and what we need is, and I don't know how to do it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's the same old thing. How do we have specs to put them out?
Right.
I mean, because we have names of people that
Mhm.
we know are reputable contractors, and that was a good suggestion, this guy that came in last week. I talked to Chip about it, and he had a suggestion of, if you're not gonna use metal, or if you use metal, like this guy suggested, where you hook it to, but, what if you use hardwood for the backing?
Mm.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah.
But as far as, again, I can make up a list, but I'm not a designer, I'm not a contractor, I'm not an engineer. So I can make up a list that says, okay, what do you gotta do? You gotta remove the old doors, you gotta remove the facings of the casing
Mm-hmm.
and put proper,
Put new jack studs in there.
proper, blocking
Casing.
behind it.
Yeah,
so
jack
that-
studs for, it's a screw to it.
Okay.
But with the weight of those doors,
You
what do
gotta
you
work
put?
in conjunction with a
gotta
painter,
make
so
sure
that
that
they're
it's-
painted on all, six
Question,
sides.
now we got these from Mass Road. Have they got any suggestions on contractors that they use?
They won't.
They won't do it?
No, nobody will, no business will give you contractors' names.
Huh.
I mean, when I worked in land use, I would never give out, I'd give out 5 or 6 of them, but I wouldn't, they'll say, which one do you like? I'd just say, here you
No,
go.
but I mean, and say, do they have some that they use that would be qualified to do this? Do they have 2 or 3 that they could give us an idea on? Not just one, but I'm saying like 2 or 3 suggestions that would be able to hang these type of doors.
At least contacts.
Yeah, just contacts. I mean, I wonder if they would have something like that, because we got them from it, and they should be able to give us somebody. I mean, you go to Lowe's and ask them, you go buy a product there in the construction contractor part, and
They got a list.
they'll give you a list of people who are qualified to do this or that, or we'll have a couple of them call you. Or here's their name, you can contact them, what you're looking for.
Right.
The names that I got, we only had a couple.
Yeah, I remember that we've had that
and say,
issue.
okay, who are your best contractors in town? You inspect their work. And he's, well, this guy is one of the best, this guy's one of the best in town. And then we have this, Mattson,
Madison.
who came in last week to discuss his, focus on historic buildings. And he sounded like a person who would like to.
Of interest, absolutely.
Someone came by, because somebody called him and told him to come by and get the list. I came by, he got the list, never seen him in months. He said it was right up his alley. I don't know who he was, he just asked for a copy, I gave him a copy of the list. He said, I'll get right back to you, just like everybody
Never heard
else
from him.
does. No.
I mean, how, and not to go back, I mean, we put out requests for proposals or, you know.
Yeah, RFQs, RFPs.
RFPs on the doors before.
Yeah.
We've done it on repairs to the building and the gazebo. And I mean, we've gotten back.
Smaller costs too.
We've gotten back, you know, different things, and it's like.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, some of them, we put them out and then you don't get any response, oh, I'm too busy, you know, it's getting into my busy season, we did it too late, and then, you know, that's happened to us more than once, so, yeah, now, yeah, you can call some contractors, now it's a small job, they'll come in and do it, but, you know, some of them, even though the winter was not hard, but it wasn't great either, but I mean, a lot of them have been busy right through the winter.
Right.
What if we put it out and, have them bring them to the meeting and then,
They don't always wanna do that.
Yeah, you
They
won't.
don't have time to do, you know,
or
to
to
give
tell us what they were gonna do, if
They
they're gonna
don't,
do anything.
not until you hire them. They don't wanna come in, they'll just come in and give you a bid on it, cause they don't, a lot of them just don't have the time or
Right.
to pay somebody to come in and do it.
Right.
either. That's-
Exactly.
It's not just, it's not owners of the company, some of them is a good-sized company, they'll have somebody that comes up, a lot of them have, estimators that come
Yeah.
out and know what they're doing, and they'll
Yeah.
estimate the job.
They just job site it and go, right. And 99% of the time, that's what we get.
Yeah. Or maybe, oh yeah, I can do it at 6 o'clock tonight, you know, and.
And I think where we lose some of the local people is they don't want to be bothered with the red tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll put together a price, but by the time you decide who you want to do it, they've got 19 other things to do.
Right, so there's 2 weeks past the,
Well, I mean, yeah. And like I
past the
said,
point.
Prime example is by the time we got the approval last March for, you know, for that building,
Yep.
and we put it out, we did everything with due diligence and put it out. We weren't
Nobody bid because they couldn't make the October due date.
They couldn't.
They
make
couldn't make it that we'd be in by October.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
And, you know, we did it, and well, we didn't get any response one of the times, and the second time we did
Right.
it again and got nothing. You know, we got everybody that came out was, oh,
Mhm.
we can't do it, we can't do it. Yeah, we can maybe talk to you come December. No. You know,
Right.
And some of your big guys were so busy, they didn't even,
They
they
weren't
thanked,
bothered.
they thanked me because I mean, we had
Thanks,
somebody
but no
give a huge list of contractors and they're like, no, we're busy till 19, or
Yeah,
thanks for
Yeah.
thinking of me, but no.
Right.
I mean,
It's nice that they're busy. I'm happy for them.
yeah,
Right.
and it's,
We've gotta do something.
No, I agree.
I mean, you can, these
So we had
buildings, you can do changes, you know, we ordered the building, you ordered the shop. The subcontractors will wanna put them equipment in
Oh,
there,
what,
so.
you're talking about that one, I'm talking about town
Any
hall
building,
doors.
I mean, any building, or you can get anybody to
Yeah.
do
We
anything.
had an estimate on, or a price from a local contractor, a
Mhm.
very well-respected
Mhm.
local
Yeah.
contractor to hang those doors, and put in the new thresholds, and a very well-respected local painter to do the painting of them. But then we dilly-dallied and dragged our feet on getting the replacements until it was too late to do it. So we got the doors, they're stored over there, and now we've got to find somebody, and my understanding is the person who gave us the original estimate.
Is not interested, he's too busy.
Yeah. And, you know, we could have had them done I know the other, we could have had them done last fall, but the problem is you're hanging them, you don't get them painted.
Yeah, and then you're right back.
And then you're right back to the same problem, you're gonna have an issue with it. We just try and do it, you know, and the other thing is that we've missighted.
And we've hired an engineer and
Yeah,
spent
and-
thousands of dollars that
And
we
the
haven't
other-
done.
And I think the simplest thing, and I had this discussion last, engineer, and I think that's good for certain projects. But what we should do is write in the bid spot a spec that we have a work performance bond, and they're gonna guarantee their work for X number of, a period of time, and they're gonna come back and fix it. If not, you know, we hold back money. And, you know, we ran into that with a heating system, and it was like, wow, this guy didn't do this job, and this guy didn't do that.
It's finger pointing.
And it's been, oh, no, I'm just saying, it's just, and we missed, and we as a board missed the boat, and that's something that we have to do. We have to pay more attention, I think. And, when we get these bids or proposals, that this stuff is included. Because, yeah, you don't wanna pay for the same thing.
Any other business?
So you gonna, I mean, how do we leave the doors? Are you gonna try to put together a list of remove the doors, or how are we gonna do that?
I can make a list. I can show it to Chip, or I can bring it next week here if people want me to do that. I was thinking that this historical guy, would it be inappropriate to ask him to put together a spec and then also bid on it?
That's gonna be tough,
That's gonna be tough.
because kind of
That's a
that's,
conflict of
yeah.
interest.
Yeah.
Because that's one way of doing it.
How about?
If we have an impartial
how
person
about,
come up with it.
New Hampshire, was it New Hampshire Preservation, I get stuff from them, because I went to one of their meetings one
But
time.
this is,
And it's for old buildings or historic buildings, and they have contractors that do, and it's just houses and other buildings. And you do, you know,
He did that.
Yeah, I mean, this is hanging those doors. We've got the doors, we've got the building, really, it's got the historical aspect, that's already there. The molding on the doors is the same as what was originally planned. It's a matter of getting a person that we know we can trust to do it.
historic buildings. That's a big,
But there are other things, like maybe that bell tower, where we would need that kind of historic input. I don't-
Purpose, right.
But I'm just so sick of putting it off.
Right, no, I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
it was
You started bringing it up
2015 when we went over there and went
Yeah.
through that with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
2 years,
Doesn't feel like it, but it was, you're right.
2 years in June.
Yeah.
The only thing it's done, they need that.
caused it a gesture, you know, and then they burn over
The doors.
the doors up, and then they have to take.
The message board stuff, I did it myself.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And even then, they haven't taken care of it. I don't know why people have to. I put letters on there. You see some that have slid this way. It's because people don't push the letter up and pull it out, and then they do it and it's cold. Or
Snap.
if the letter sticks
Yeah.
because it's frost, they put their hands in there and they pull it, which takes out a nail, and it's a
Or it
pain.
breaks the
Right.
plastic.
Or it breaks the plastic, so you push the plastic back, but the next letter falls through it. If it's an
Is it
I,
broken, the plastic?
there's a couple pieces that are broken.
Because that's very easy to replace.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just on this side here, when you're on the Henniker side, you see the letter slide down because you gotta slide it over. If it's a big letter, you can cover the gap
Yeah, there's a
usually.
place in,
Right.
but-
Londonderry, it used to be in Manchester, a plastic supply place, and they carry that, and it where that the holes are already there for the screws and everything. Of course, you gotta
Untake it, yeah.
take it off and drill the holes in the
Well,
plastic.
no, it's
Yeah.
necessarily, if you get the right screws for drilling through the plastic, they go right through it, and you don't even know they're there. I put all that up in my house now for the trim board, as I buy the PVC or plastic board, so I don't have to worry about it rotting.
Just like a vinyl, yeah,
Yeah, it's,
vinyl.
Anybody wanna go on?
yep.
Yep.
I'd like to, go to the Thursday, June 8th, right to know law? I mean, I know it was partially in the course that I took already, but this goes into depth. And they have a new book on it too that you'd get and bring back.
Who's doing it?
NHMA.
But who?
Who's the,
Steve Buckley?
director?
Oh,
Steve
Stephen
Buckley,
and Margaret Byrne.
Margaret Byrne.
Yeah, they do them all.
A lot of things, you know, technology and how it's changed, and email, and internet, and Facebook, and it really complicates this whole issue beyond the minutes.
And now, you know, you lost your publication, so it's tough to, you know, when you try to put something out to bid, not everybody has cable. I know I don't. Not everybody has a computer. Not everybody has the internet.
Right.
Not everybody has a smartphone. You know, and then now you're forced between the Concord Monitor and the Union Leader, which is bitterly expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why you shorten up and you make it as small as you can, and then get them to call here or come here or email here, because, you know, when we do that for help, I mean, it's $185 for one day.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
And minutes, when we had our newspaper there for 2 years, we had fridges at the Monitor, and I don't know if we gave the information, but the Monitor circulation in Weare is very big. It's all internet. You know?
Yeah, well,
yeah, and people go to the internet online
nobody
subscription.
wants to buy the papers because they raised they were more expensive than
Right.
Union Leader to get a daily newspaper for them. So not everybody. I used to get it. I used to get both of them, and I stopped the Monitor because it was too expensive. It was, you know, I was paying.
And you can go online to both of them and get what you want
25
3 or 4 times a month for free.
50 cents more a copy.
$65 for every 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and I was, you know.
Is it okay if I go to this?
You just have to put in your paper. How does it work? Do you do a purchase order, or do you get reimbursed there after?
I just registered them, and I think they just bill us after.
They just bill us after.
I can't remember, else I had to use the credit card. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I went to one of them when it was with Benji and I went. It was paid for it. And then they gave me a bill when I was it was already paid.
You have a copy of Benji?
I do. Yep. I think Benji has one too. I think Mary made one for everybody.
Okay. We're adjourned.
Motion to.
I second.